All right. So the group's discussion to why did that go away? So this group's discussion today is about how to be in love with multiple women and to manage those relationships. Uh, so we got Eb, as you can see, Eb got, both his two wives in the picture. So he's kind of like our expert every month that just comes on and just gives us like real life advice. We're kind of like speculating or maybe understanding things that we've gone through, but he can really give like that real life advice. Um, so I really wanted to dive into that, because I feel like from my perspective, a lot of times we always hear about like the love we're going to receive from like multiple people, but it's really about managing like those relationships. And so usually you're taught that once you find one person, you're done. You give all your love, all your heart, all your everything to this one person for the rest of your life. So you have the ability to love, more than one person. You have to be able to maintain those relationships, which mean like say this relationship is good and this relationship is kind of rocky. You can't let what's going on in the relationship that's rocky affect the relationship that's solid. So you have to be able to manage your emotions, and sometimes it's not easy to do,
Right.
and I've found, with my recent, we're not in anything yet, but being in love with my ex-girlfriend and my fiance now, that relationship is kind of rocky. I don't know what's going to happen with it. It's not solid, but my relationship with my fiance is completely solid. So say if she doesn't pick up or she doesn't get back to me or I'm not sure what she's going to do, even though that can bother me, I cannot let it affect the relationship that I have with him. He comes home, I still have to be 100 and, hey, babe, how was your day? And, that can't spill over into this relationship because then that causes problems because he can't control what goes on in this relationship over here. So nobody talks about when you're having to manage multiple relationships that affect you, and they always make it seem like they're always, all of your relationships are good. When one is not so good and the other one is solid, how do you manage when this one is affecting your emotions and not letting it spill over into this one?
Man, listen, I think that those are some great questions, and those are some things that you really have to talk about. Um, I know from experience that is very difficult to do for all parties, right? So if you take my two wives, if her relationship is off with the her sister wife, and then to try to come to me and make it seem like everything is okay, that's very hard on the human brain to try to do. And let me tell you from my experience, it is almost impossible to do. You know, it is almost impossible. So that's why when you come into especially polygyny, everyone has to know that everyone affects everyone, you know? And I think when you put those type of or that understanding in the forefront, and if we actually really care about one another, don't get me wrong, you care about yourself and then the next person, you would try to limit those things as much as possible because from my experience, it's going to affect. If I'm having uh let's say a down day with the other wife and we having issues and this or that. From my experience, I can tell you from firsthand, I could leave that wife and go to the other wife, and the other wife will be able to look at me and say, "What's wrong?" I already know something is wrong. You know what I'm saying? So I think when everybody understands that some way down in there you going to affect the entire house, not just the other wife, the children. I mean, I can go. We can go as co-workers. You know, just go. You. because I'm not in good standard with someone that I care so deeply about, it's
Hmm.
going to affect. So the best way to manage that and handle that is to try to go and get that right. To be honest with you, go and go and fix that. You know what I'm saying? Go have the conversation and fix what I always tell my wife. There is nothing too hard that can't be fixed with something as simple as communication. People, I'm telling y'all, communication is so big. Just go get it fixed, man. And the more you understand that whatever happens between us affects the entire home, you know,
Hmm.
like you'll begin to look at it, differently. I'll give an example. If you know if you eat certain things, you know, at the moment it gives you pleasure, but later on you're gonna hurt your stomach. Now you don't want to get up and walk. So you're gonna affect the whole body. You know what I'm saying? So when you're talking about a marriage or a polygynous, marriage, everybody affects everybody. And when you understand that, you begin to move and operate a certain way better. So, personally, my personal experience, it is very difficult to leave one woman that you just had an argument with and y'all didn't come to a conclusion, and now you're gonna go over here and be grinning. Nah, you still thinking about what's going on over there. As a matter of fact, you know how it is in an argument, and not just a big, huge back and forth argument. You start thinking of, dang, I should have said that. Now I want to go back over there and say what I forgot to say. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So I think the best way to manage that is just get that right because it's going to affect everybody.
But is there, like I hear, but is that not the best price? Is that fair to make one situation spill into the other? You can
Um,
say that something happened, but it shouldn't affect the other relationship if that relationship is good. Like while you're spending time over here, of course, you didn't just walk out on your other wife, right? So you do get back
hmm
to her and you do, make sure that's good, but that's not fair to give a bad attitude to this person over here because with this, what you have going with that person, because those two different relationships, even though you are in the same household, there are different relationships. I'm not going to let, like, if I don't know, I have a way to compartmentalize that. Like, if I go through something with Cam, I'm not going to let it affect it. Like, I may. I may say it's like, okay, well, Cam did this, but I'm not gonna let it cause me to have a bad night with my fiance. I'm not gonna let it do that. I'm not gonna mope around because Cam did something. I'm gonna address with Cam because that's my relationship with Cam, and I'm gonna make sure that it is good. But I think it starts to cause issues if Cam does something and I keep bringing it over to him. I keep bringing it over when he has nothing to do with that. Like that's my relationship with him. Or say if I had something going on with Cam's dad, as far as like we're going through something and I keep bringing that to my fiance, it's gonna cause issues because it's like, okay, I understand that you have to deal with that, but you need to learn how to deal with that and not constantly let it reek over here because that's when I feel when issues can arise when you're constantly sort of in a bad mood or punishing somebody else for what somebody else did. I feel like you have to learn how to compartmentalize your relationships and what's going on. You could talk
hmm
about it, but it cannot affect that relationship over there where you're
hmm
constantly spilling that over into another relationship because you are carrying on separate relationships.
Right, right. Now, from that standpoint, yes, I understand what you're saying. And once again, I don't think or I haven't been in a situation where the disagreement or the so-called argument was so bad that when I get to the next wife, I can't even like greet you, hey babe, how you doing? How was your
Hmm.
day? Da 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 da. But it just depends on the situation. Like I said, I've had, in the beginning um of my polygynous relationship, I've had those moments where I'm like, wow, it's like in my mind, it's like, man, she don't understand. So I may go home. And this was at the time where I think we was living in two separate homes.
Hmm.
In the beginnings of and I went home and I'm just like, because this is like a fresh relationship and X, Y, and Z. Um, but I think that that is something that we as men that we definitely have to grow and have that emotional intelligence to know that it's kind of like whatever happened on the job, don't bring that job home. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
So I think that's a little bit more difficult when you are intertwined with someone that you quote unquote love. That's a
Hmm.
little bit more difficult than a job that you kind of just leave and then go home and like, you know what, I'll pick that up tomorrow and finish that tomorrow. This is a person that you care about deeply. So yes, I agree from that standpoint. You don't let it spill over. You're still able to go home and smile and laugh. And my wives will tell you all the time, it's very hard to detect if something is wrong with me because I'm always the one that's on 100 and got that high energy. And as far as us as men, a lot of times we don't really show what's bothering us, or what's going on with us. So I just think that it's good for the women to know that those things bother us and let's try and fix those things because for you to now send me, well, let's not use the word send me, but for you to know that I'm going over here to the next woman,
Hmm.
if you should want to say, hey, babe, listen, don't worry about this conversation. Let's tailor it. Go ahead. Tell my co-wife, I say, hey, y'all have a great day or great night or whatever, whatever. Like you could really help that situation. You know what I'm saying? I always, you know me, Krista. Hey, you know me, Krista. I always say women are y'all are everything, man. Y'all can help regulate men. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So just something as simple as because the question is how do we what say the question again?
Oh,
How
for
do
the
we
topic?
manage? Right, right.
Yeah,
How do
how do
we
you manage being in
how do
love
we
with
manage?
multiple women and
Right.
managing those relationships?
Right. That's just not for the man to do is manage that. Women, y'all help me manage. Help me manage that. Something as simple as, babe, don't worry about that. I know we ain't seen and we not finished right now, but you go ahead on over there. Tell my co-wife I say, hey, as a matter of fact, what she cooked tonight? Do something to help me, Crystal. Let me know everything is gonna be all right. We're gonna finish this. We didn't get to the end. So I think that's a better way of how you manage it. I think everybody should manage it, not just the man. Don't put that all on him. That's a lot.
No, no, I never said it was put on the man.
No, I'm just
I just gave
saying.
an example. It's on everybody. Like,
Right,
from my perspective, we're all romantically married, so it's on
right,
everybody, and
right,
everybody is managing a multiple romantic relationship. But I
right.
was just saying, like, how do you keep, I was giving that example of what I have to practice. So, like my child, recently comes to me and says he wants to reconnect with his father. I'm never a person to keep a child from their father. So I already
Hmm.
know there's boundaries that have to be put in place. And I know this individual and they may do things that irritate me. But that
Hmm.
irritation cannot spill over into my marriage. Like, I already
Right,
have to set
right.
those boundaries like, hey, you're this age. I feel like you're responsible enough to have that soul relationship, with your father. I feel
Hmm.
like I don't need to step in. You are a boy. I feel like you should be able to handle your father. And if he becomes disrespectful or anything like that, you're welcome. I don't ever want you to disrespect your father because that is your father, but you can respectfully say, hey, I feel like you're being disrespectful, I'm gonna talk to you later, something
Hmm.
like that. But I reassured like my fiance, I said, look, I told him that he wants to connect back with his dad. But what I said is that I'm not going to allow what my child's father does to affect you in any way. I will set boundaries. And see, that's
Hmm.
so important for women when you have a child with someone else. You have to set boundaries. I feel like women have a really bad time with not knowing how to do that. You have to set boundaries so it does not affect your household. So in having to think in that mindset, and I think that's why like polygamy to me what it prepares you for and what it does to your mind, it kind of trickles down into other areas of life that have nothing to
Hmm.
do with polygamy and it helps you, manage multiple relationships. So that's what I always think about. Like, I'm not saying like, okay, say in the future if one of our wives if she does something and it upsets him or it upsets me. I'm not saying when he's spending time with me, he has to completely act like that never happened, but he can't
Right.
be like, oh, I'm just going to bed and just not spend time with you because of what she did, or oh, I'm just going to bed, not spend time with her because of what she did. That's when I say it will start to cause issues because now you're punishing the other person for something they didn't do. You can
Right.
communicate your feelings, but you
Right.
can't shut yourself down because
Right.
these are separate, relationships that are going
Come
on.
on,
So that's
phone.
what I had to do with myself, regardless of what my ex-girlfriend has going on, because right now that's the relationship that I'm trying to maintain that he's not involved in right now. I
Right.
can't allow what she does right now because it's shaky and it's not solid yet to affect him. I can talk to him about it. Like he'll ask me, "Oh, did she text you today?" or "Oh, did she do this?" And I'm like, "I don't know what she's doing or I don't know what she has going on." But it can't be like it's movie night. And, I don't feel like watching a movie. I'm just going to bed
Mm-hmm.
because of
Mm-hmm.
what she did.
Right.
And I feel like sometimes in poly people will do that. They will spill over what's
Mm-hmm.
going on and they will do that entirely too much and it will cause issues. And that's what I meant by like being able to manage. You have to be able to manage your emotions
Right.
and
Right.
split them when normally it's just focused on one thing. And that's kind of like what I'm learning. We're not
Mm-hmm.
taught to like from a romantic sense of someone you're with, we're not taught to split our emotions. It's just in one bag, and we're used to having this
Mm-hmm.
one bag, which is monogamy, and all your emotions are in this one bag. And then so you
Mm-hmm.
go into polygamy, it splits, however it splits.
Right.
And then now you have to be able to manage your heart in multiple places and being affected by multiple people and manage that, and they don't talk about how really difficult that is to do. All they really talk about is just the love that you receive. And I wanted to address something just different. I mean, yeah, this is all great. You get love from multiple places and showered with multiple gifts that you, you get
Right.
one, you get two, but they don't talk about your feelings. And if someone could break your heart over here, but you gotta maintain over here. This person didn't break your
Mm-hmm.
heart, but this person broke your heart over here. So your heart broken over here, or you have this person here every day, but then you're longing, you're missing this person. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like you can't feel like you're void because you have someone over here, and then people get confused. Like, but wait, you have someone at home every day. It's like, yeah, but your heart is in different places. So because your heart is in different places, it's like I really want to see this person over here as well. I miss this person over here as well. Even though I come home to this person every single night. And most people don't understand that, and that's when they think, "Oh, you're greedy. Oh, you're selfish. Oh, you're just ungrateful. Oh, you're this, that, and the third." You should be lucky that you having someone you come home with every night, and you are, and you're thankful. But they don't understand when you have the capacity to love more than one person, your heart is split in different places.
Right. Right. No, I definitely agree. I definitely agree with that. Um, 100%. So yeah, you have to be able to manage uh those emotions and just hopefully that, you're not having a lot of those moments. But when those moments do come, you have to be able to manage and still go and do X, Y, and Z. It's almost like you could be having an argument in your home and someone show up and knock on the door. You ain't gonna sit there and act like, what I'm saying, you all upset and you mad. You're like, oh hey, how y'all doing? Y'all gonna be like nothing never happened, what I'm saying? You're gonna
Right.
put on that face for whoever showed up at the door. So I think that sometimes we should, try and do the same thing, for the ones that's in the home. A lot of times the people that we're more comfortable with, we give them the less effort because we're comfortable, you know what I'm saying? And then the people that we don't know, it's like we give them more effort. So I think that's a programming that we definitely got to change. You know what I'm
hmm
saying? Um, so yeah, I agree. I agree with that point of the conversation.
I think we definitely do that when it comes to like us who are having to somewhat co-parent. So you could really not like this person. You could really, but for the child, you have to put on a face. You have to put
Mm-hmm.
on a cordial face. You can't say nothing bad because that's half of them. So if you say something
Mm-hmm.
bad about them, they internalize, oh, you're talking about me because that's half
Mm-hmm.
of me. So you can't say anything bad. So every
Right.
time you're always having to correct yourself and I would never say anything bad about this person. um I want you to have your own relationship and get your own perspective of what
Mm-hmm.
this person is. So we do that for our children. We put on a face, and it's not even being fake. It's that I literally am talking about half of you. So I
Right.
can't talk about half of who you are, right? So I have
Right.
to put on this face. So, and also whatever's going on, I can't, if we get in an argument or we get into a disagreement, I can't go to my child and be like, you know what your father, no, I can't do that.
Right.
So it's
Right.
kind of like the same thing. You kind of learn from when you have to co-parent, you kind of bring that same thing into, a polygamous situation where it's like, okay, this might be going on over here, but I have to, it's not even being fake. It's just that I can't continue to bring that over here. That has
Hmm.
nothing to do with that separate relationship. I know they intertwine at some point, but you have your intertwined relationship and you have your separate relationships that are going on. So if something happened in that separate relationship over there, it cannot come into this relationship over here. It's just like you're gonna have different relationship with your children. So you irritated with one child, but this other child is doing well. You can't come over here and say, your brother just gets on my nerves and give me your book, and they just got 100. And they're gonna be like, wow, every time, because my brother does something, you take it out on me. We can never do anything because you're always mad at him. It's gonna become an issue. So it just in the walk of life itself, you have to, like you said, you have to leave what happened at work at work. You can address and say, hey, I had a bad day at work. But hey, what's for dinner? Let's sit down, let's read a book. You know? It kind of has to be
Right.
like that. You can acknowledge and they could let you communicate, but it cannot be like, okay, I'm going to act negatively towards you
Hmm.
because of what
Hmm.
happened there. You
Right.
can you want to be acknowledged about how you feel, but you have
Right.
to be controlled. You have to be able to control your feelings when you don't act negatively or
Right.
angry towards this
Right.
person. I saw a video that really upset me. I'm not going to say his name on Instagram. So he had like two or three wives, but I think he was only showing two. So he had this caption that says, when one wife is mad at me, I don't care. I just go to the other.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of dealing with, at the
Hmm.
time it was supposed to be her, alone time with him. Because she's mad at him, he's going to leave her in the angry moment and go to the other wife like, I don't care. Like that is the worst advice to give somebody. It's
Right.
almost like you're walking out of your marriage. That's how she's gonna feel. Like you're
Right.
walking out of our marriage. We have issues and you need to deal with those issues instead of dealing with them. Oh, she's not mad at me. I'll just go over there. That's not what we're talking about.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree. I definitely agree. I think that I mean, I know some people may say, well, it just depends on what's happening or what she's mad at. Let's just look at it from more of a general, standpoint. Let's just look at, say you did something. Say you did something and it upset her and say you were wrong. I think you should fix that. I don't think I know that you should go and fix that. If we actually care, you care about that woman and you did something, like a lot of times my wives tell me, you know, even though I might not be meaning to do it. Well, what you said and how you said it, that kind of offended me, Well, my first thing will be is, well, that's not what I meant to do. I didn't mean to offend you. So if my words came off a certain type of way, let me first apologize. But then that's when I always tell them, well, let me explain more in depth what I'm saying and why I'm saying it. You know what I'm saying? In certain cases, I may tell them, listen, I can't just always cater to how you want me to do things in X, Y, and Z because of your feelings. I may need you to, I like to use the word, I may need you to toughen up a little bit. This is right here, so some tough love. But at the end of the day, if you're doing something, if you're in a space with one another, man, fix it. I'm telling you, man, you sleep better at night. We all know that. It's always what's that saying? Don't go to bed angry and mad at one
Hmm.
another because that's what's on the conscience. You know what I'm saying? So fix it. No, I don't. I definitely don't think that he should or anyone should handle their wives, like that. Especially with, polygyny being. I'm not gonna say something new. I mean, this has been around for ages, but in this generation, this age and time, you definitely got to take a little bit of that time and try to get the women and the men to see. So overall, what you're saying is, we all got to have some type of emotional intelligence to be able to handle yourself, a monogamous or a polygynist. It just it heightens up. The more people that are involved in the circle, it becomes more and more heightened. You know,
Yeah.
it's kind of like riding a bicycle. Riding a bicycle versus riding a motorcycle, your sense is going to be a lot more heightened. You know,
Hmm.
so we love to say the bigger the vehicle, you know, the less room for, you know, your margin of error begins to go down. It has to,
Mm.
you know, you don't have a lot of room for error, you know.
Yeah.
You know, the bigger the vehicle, once you get into those 18 wheelers, what you could get out of in a car, you can't get out of that in an 18 wheeler, you know. You see what I'm saying? So your margin of error, you know, you don't have a large, you know, room to work with, you know. So you
Hmm.
gotta operate, you know, much better, and you gotta be on top of your game, man. You know, gotta be on top of your game.
So what was it like for you? I don't know if you can remember, because at one point, you were monogamous with Repka. When your heart started to split, like when you actually really fell in love with your second wife and you always had just loved one person,
Hmm.
how did you manage at first when you felt your heart in two different places? What kind of things did you go through?
Well, if I'm being honest and transparent, it was nothing. Um, and I think because men are wired to be able to love multiple women the same, I felt nothing different. I felt nothing X, Y, and Z. If anything, I actually felt more love towards my first wife because of how she was supporting me, you know? Like, man, like this is really my A1 right here. You know what I'm saying? So I tell a lot of men, a lot of times if you're being honest and if you're really doing it for the right reasons, if that first wife is supporting you, and the reason we look at it like that because we're hip to how society has pretty much say how the woman should react or how she feels or this. So to see my wife, you know, move in a certain way and show that huge support like that, it allowed me to look at her even the more like, you know, man, what can I do for you? What can I give you? But as
Hmm.
far as the other thing, me knowing that now that, you know, I'm kind of transitioning into having these what we would call these feelings for this other woman, I didn't feel anything, Crystal, to be honest with you. I'm trying to think while I'm sitting here talking to you that I really feel. I didn't feel anything, you know? And I think that was some of that is me knowing and understanding that I'm just biologically wired to be able to care for uh more than one woman, you know? Yeah.
Hmm.
Yep. So that's kind of my journey, or, you know, kind of where I stand, you know, with that. I was more intrigued of the women um actually loving on one another or coming together. You know, if anything, that made my heart pour out even more to see them moving and operating on a certain level, because the stigma is that women don't get along. You know, women don't work together and women don't this and women don't that. So when you actually see it, you know, then it was more like, man, because they're both putting in the work. So it's hard to say, you know, man, I love one more than the other one, or this. Nah, it was more of y'all making me, you know, want to go even that more of that extra mile, you know,
Hmm.
seeing this. So yeah, that was kind of more, you know, of how I saw it and how I felt. Yeah.
So did you ever have a time, like early on, where one was not as solid as the other, like in the first part, and you were trying to manage how to not bring that to your
Hmm.
first wife?
Yeah, well, I still that's still something now, even being married to my second wife for 6 years, you know, she's not Repka, you know. Repka has been with me for, you know, 13 years now. You know, there's things that Repka know about me that my second wife still just don't know and don't understand. But what I think sometimes where we get caught up at is that where men may get caught up is that you expect each woman to be the same. I don't expect my first wife to be my second wife, and I don't
Hmm.
expect my second wife to be my first wife. What Repcon gives to me, technically, I don't need that from you, to a certain degree, depending on what we're talking about, you know. Um, like for an example, if people ask me what's the difference between, well, Revcon gives me what I would call peace. Well, I'm not saying that my second wife Zakia doesn't give me peace, but Revcon is like she flourished in that a little bit more. My second wife, what does she give me? Man, when it comes to putting things in motion and getting things going and moving, business minded, that's what she get. Relka just don't give me that. I be looking at Relka like, man, Relka, come on, man. I don't have to say that to my second wife. You know what I'm saying? She's already up, moving, da 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 da. You know what I'm saying? But they just gonna carry two different things. Just to, it's so much that I can tell you. I tell them all the time. They're like night and day to me. I got the best of both worlds. I got
Hmm.
night and I got day. You know what I'm saying? you know so it when you understand, I think the more you understand women and understand what you're doing, you don't get caught up in those type of things or X, Y, and Z, so they just give me something different,
Hmm.
if I want, I always know that I can go to Repcar for some type of peace if I need it. Not to say that Zakia doesn't give me that, but she's just Repkar's more potent in this area than she is.
Right.
So I learned to go to who I need to go to when I
At
need
that
to go to
time.
them at that
Yeah.
time. You know what I'm saying? And when the women understand that, it makes it easier because now I got the second wife or Zakia sitting over there looking at me like, well, I mean, well, you don't think I can get? I didn't say that. I didn't say that you couldn't, but she's just more potent in that area, because I don't go to RevCon for business stuff. I just don't. I think she's too lax. She's not like for me in business being an entrepreneur. I need you to
Hmm.
be up and on your stuff. Relcar just laid back. Relcar is so laid back sometimes. I be like, bro, I can't do you in this moment because you like she's the laid back one. She don't need no schedule. She just operates however she feel. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So the kid's gonna give me more of a level of what I call structure in her way. I'm not saying that Revcar is not structured, but Z gives me that structure that I'm looking for when we talk about moving, operating, business, this, that. You know what I'm saying? So I know where to go. If I want peace, I'm going to Repcar. If I'm ready to get amped up and make it happen, I'm going over here to Z. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So when the women understand that they carry, let's say, different roles with the man,
Hmm.
it makes everything roll smoother because if not, what happens is the women end up competing versus collaborating. You see what I'm saying? Now we're
Hmm.
competing to do this for him, you know what I'm saying? Versus collaborating. Hey, he wants macaroni tonight. It's no I can make the macaroni, but he likes your macaroni better. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So you cook the macaroni. You know what I'm saying? So once again, you know where I stand. I think when it comes to polygyny, women make polygyny work. Women are the ones that sets the foundation. Well, not the foundation. The man lays the foundation. They pretty much build a house. Here's the foundation of what we want to do, y'all. I need y'all to build now. So they set the mood. They set the energy in the home. Everything is set by them because they are there. You know. So for me, that's kind of how it moves and operates. And if every woman can understand that, we all good to go. If I get another wife and she's big on health tips and eating and certain this, well, she's who I'm going to. I ain't telling you that the other wives can't tell me certain good things to eat, but she's just more potent in this area. This is what she studied. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You know, you
It's
know,
like a doctor, like
right,
they'll tell you
right.
that too. Like, you can go to
Yeah,
like
yeah,
podiatrist and they may be able to tell you some stuff about your eyes.
right,
But they didn't go to
right.
school specifically for
There you
optometry, so they
go.
don't really, they can tell you a general,
There you go.
this is what I know from general med school of what's going on with your eyes. But
Right.
I would recommend that you go to an
So
optometrist
I
that actually
yes.
went for specifically
That's it.
eyes,
That's it.
because I
That's
don't
it.
really specifically know how to help you. So it's kind of like if you break it down like a doctor in different
Exactly.
specialties, you need to
Exactly.
go to the doctor that's specialized
That's
in the
special.
area
There
that
you
you're
go.
having
There you
issues
go.
in
There
versus
you
a
go.
general medical doctor to just general medically, I know this, but
Yep.
and a general
Yep.
medical doctor is going to say, oh, I need to
Yep.
refer you to a specialist.
There you go. There you go. And this is the thing, Crystal. If women would understand that the same way they understand it from what we would say a worldly standpoint, if you bring that into a relationship, a marriage, polygyny is met because polygyny is just the highest form of a corporation. It's a corporation, you know?
Hmm.
In a corporation, you have levels. You know what I'm saying? Everybody is important. You know what I'm saying?
True.
But if everybody is the CEO and nobody is the workers, I mean, we don't have a business. We don't have nothing, you know? So when everybody can understand it on that level, you know, and because sometimes, yeah, if you do go out there in a corporation, you see how the people on the floor are being treated. Well, we're not treating you like that. You know what I'm saying? So once they can understand it like that, man, I'm telling you, man, a lot of these emotions and things go out the door because technically what women are trying to do now, they are trying to be everything for that man. They don't want that man looking in no other direction. So now she's trying to wear 50 hats. You know what I'm
Ooh,
saying?
you'd be tired
50
at the end of the
hats.
day.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. So, and it's all because they want to somewhat subconsciously, they want to be able to control the man, you know?
But you, but it,
Women.
but yeah, it's like you got to be, you got to be the housemaid.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be the cook. You got to be the advisor. You got to be the counselor. You got to be the healer. You got to be the businesswoman. You got to be the person that listens. Oh, you got to
Yes.
be the sexpert in the bedroom every
Yep.
other night.
Yep.
So
Yep.
you're by the time and oh, you got to be the amazing mother to take care of the kids. So it's like once you wear all those hats, you'll be lucky if you get a sexpert because I'm tired. I've been the housemaid. I've been the cook 3 times, 4 times today. I've
Yeah.
cleaned up the house after
Yep.
dealing with the kid and homework and doing all this stuff with zero real help. I'm tired. So excuse me, and when I say I do not care to
Right.
be your superwoman.
Right.
I'm okay if somebody takes that burden off of me. It doesn't make me any less. Like you have to know what your strengths are. And I think that's, hi Manuel. I think that's very like really key what you were saying, Eb, is that we collaborate. So
Yep.
I don't I'm not like Chef Boyardee, you know what I'm saying? I'm not
Right.
Martha Stewart, I'm none of them people. So if she comes in and she could bang down and he want her to make this, that, and the third.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I might need to, look at what she does. Say if she takes a vacation or something, she's not
Right.
here.
Right.
I want to
Right.
still, he still has to be cooked for, right? But if she's
Right.
the expert, then, it's fine if she takes that
Mm-hmm.
area on, versus you feel like, oh my God, he's going to her. Oh my God, he
Right.
touches her in that way. But if it
Right.
brings him out to be a better man, everybody benefits because it's not like he's going to be this
Every
better man over here and just shut down
exactly.
when he comes to you.
Exactly, because the thing is, once the woman start looking at it from the standpoint of, I want him to love me more than her, we got an issue now. You know, I'm doing this because I want him to look at me more, or I want him to look at me the way he looks at her. No, she just carries something different. You know,
Hmm.
I'm just speaking from experience. I don't look at my wives in certain areas the same. You know, I just don't because I know who carries what and who's more potent in certain situations. You know, I just know, and that's something that over the years I've talked to them about and tried to teach them to get them to understand it just from a logical standpoint, you know. But you have to remove those feelings and those emotions. You know, those feelings and those emotions is going to keep you just unbalanced. You know, it's called energetic unbalance, is what it's called, you know? So, yeah, I think that's great, Chris. I think that you definitely need to get that point out And don't get me wrong, I always talk about women a lot, but men need to understand that. Men need to understand and be able to look and understand, when you in your business and it's kind of like for us as men, sometimes I be want to say that we understand that because a lot of times we play more team sport than women did, but women are much more into team sports now. You know,
Hmm.
um, who's the better shooter? If he's open, get him the ball. Even that's something even Michael Jordan had to learn. You
Yeah.
know, Steve Kerr and John Paxson was the better 3-point shooter. If they're open, who's going to take that shot? If he's open, man, listen, it's all about the team.
Hmm.
It's all about the team. So once again, to go back to how do we manage? It's a team game, man. It's a team game. If everybody is able to manage their feelings and their emotions, man, this is a breeze, man. It's a breeze. And the more my wives begin to look at themselves and begin to manage their own emotions,
Hmm.
because a lot of times women want men to manage their emotions. No, no, I can get in here and help where I can help, but that's not my job to manage your emotions. That's not my job. You got to manage everybody have to manage their own emotions. And where you may need a little help or a little pep talk or a little coddling or a hug, yeah, nothing is wrong with that. But if we're all managing it together, we're all looking at this as a team and not a competition. Like we're all on the same team. We shouldn't be competing with one another. You know,
Right.
we're competing against this world out here that's trying to get us to lose, if anything, you know? So when we look at it from that standpoint, and I think that that statement you made, it was just perfect. That's a perfect statement. And but women have to know that men, um, I like using this word love loosely until we really define it. But women do have to know that the man loved them equally. She has to know that. She has to know that the other woman is not being the more of the favorite. It's kind of like
Right.
if you had 2 or 3 wives, right? And one of your wives is just not, I'm sorry, but I can't take you to the business meeting. Maybe your slang or your talk is just not good to take to the business meeting. What you trying to say? That I'm not good? No, maybe she's a little bit more ghetto, Crystal. So she
Hmm.
may say something that you may not be good to go to the business meeting. You know what I'm saying? But you're gonna benefit from us going, from this one going.
Yeah.
Well, maybe this one over here is just maybe she's a little too uppity and I need one to take that's a little bit more, you know, laid back. So if everybody understands and know their strengths and their weaknesses, something I always told my wives, understand y'all strength and y'all weaknesses, and that's where you help one another. Hey, well, I'm a little weak in this area right here. I'm gonna need you to help me. Well, this is more of my strong area. So you know what? I just need you to support me. So
Hmm.
you just go back and forth. Just go back and forth, man. And when you really love one another, when the women really adore and love one another, it just becomes so much more easier. It takes a lot of the pressure off the man. In the beginning, I would say if they don't know and understand what we're talking about now, it's a little bit more pressure on the man to kind of set that foundation. That's the hardest part when you're building a house is digging out the foundation and getting once you get the foundation right, you know what I'm saying? Oh, you can go now. You're all good to go. So once you get that thing dug out and get it right, the sky's the limit, man. Sky's the limit.
That is so true. So we got my brother Emmanuel on. So Emmanuel, we are talking about how to be in love with multiple women and how to manage those relationships. So what's kind of like your take on that?
Well, let me start off saying, hey, how do you pronounce your name, brother?
Eob.
Eo. Okay.
Yes. Yep.
I just, are you at work? You're not able to get the camera going. I'm just curious.
Oh no, I actually could, but I was home with my children, so I'm kind of moving around. Both of my wives are out. I
Completely
just told,
understand.
yeah, I just
Uh,
told Krista, I don't know how I got stuck in this
He
situation.
always gets stuck when it's
Yeah,
our
so
Zoom time. He always has the kids.
These things
right,
happen. It's okay. These things
right,
happen.
right. They
These
they
things happen.
I listen, I think that they be snooping behind my back, talking and game planning on me, man. But it's all
Those
good
things
though.
will happen. Those things
Yeah.
will happen. But oh, so brother Io, how old are you if you don't mind me asking?
Hmm.
How old are you if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, I'm 40. I just turned
40.
40 a couple
Great.
of weeks ago. Yep.
So Crystal and I'm pretty sure you've known Crystal probably longer than I have. You know, Crystal have has listened to a bit of my journey. My journey, I'm a Gen Xer. See, you guys are in the millennials, but my children and my nieces and stuff. So my journey has been as long as yours. And I think I've said Crystal before hilariously. I said I could have my own reality show. I'll we need you and I need to share information because if I when I share with you the journey I have gone on, you will lose it. You will probably either be stunned in silence or you will be on the floor laughing the whole time. When I say Tyler Perry could not have conjured up what I have gone through into making it successful as a Gen Xer, you know. Um, but there are some points you are correct in, or not say correct in, that I agree with. And that's the whole thing. I think the biggest thing that I've seen is a lot of men, when I chose this guys, is that a lot of men took a very uh patriarchal uh authoritarian mode to this and threw dabs of religion on it. And that's great. But it can be done because I don't know if you guys have done the studies, but I'd be happy to share the empirical data. Out of the four genuses of human beings, only one of them where the women outperform the men across the board. Who do you think that genus is?
I'm sorry.
Um,
Say that question again.
I said, out of the four genuses of human beings, there's only one genus where the women across the board outperform their men. So, where do you think that genus is? Genus means, I guess, race. Everybody says race, but there's only one race, just humans, us. But the genuses are Caucasian, Latino, Asiatic, and African. So obviously, we're African. So out of those four genuses, which genus of women do you think outperforms their men?
are we supposed to say African?
Well,
In,
no,
in the
I'm
United
asking.
States,
I'm
we
asking, brother.
mix with a bunch of stuff. I can't say I'm African because I got a bunch of stuff mixed up in my ethnicity being in this mixing bowl of a place we at.
Oh, I agree and stuff. I also, we all have that mixture and stuff, but our dominant that will come on ancestry DNA and how society here in America looks at that as African. I hate trying to say, I don't like saying black because you're not black. You have a nice caramel color. I'm brown. Brother, I always like it. I'm more of a dark brown, mahogany. So no, so I don't agree with that term, especially scientifically, it doesn't make sense. But uh,
I think culturally we are black, honestly. Like a lot of African men and women, I don't even understand. They have a different culture, they have a different mindset. We weren't raised with the same values. We weren't raised with the same culture. We weren't raised with the same idealistic. I think that's what's messing society up is trying to put a black woman to have the same mindset as an African woman. We don't. And so they keep telling us to go back to a root we don't even understand because we've been raised in a totally different culture with a totally different mindset. And like I'm saying, a lot of us do have different cultures. You know, I have a very strong Indian background, so a lot of Indian food and things like that were introduced to me. So so it's like I understand that black doesn't make sense, but it's kind of like from the cultural standpoint, like if I have a male friend that's African, I don't really identify with half his culture and half the things that he's talking about or how he lives his day to day. So they're trying to get us to be this one mindset, one race, instead of understanding that black women do not think the same as African women. We weren't raised the same.
Hey, babe. Okay. Well, you're correct, but you're still an African woman. So when you think about it, you never hear the term white Americans. So when you have the African American, the Latin American, the Asian American, we're already made a subspecies and we're looked at less. So the wonderful thing what we have in this country is that we have freedom. We have freedoms that I always tell people women here in America have freedoms that a lot of men in many countries I've been in don't have. The thing is how to navigate this uh, in a sustainable, tenable, rational manner to where we are still sadly fixated on our own view. We are not given a world view, especially as uh, Western Africans in America or African people. We're African. That's the fact. I mean, I understand. Trust me, I can give you guys my ancestry DNA. I have 19 different DNA sequences. I like, wow. I mean, I knew of some, but there was others I was like, oh, I didn't know I had this in me. So I completely understand. But the dominant uh, DNA sequence is African. Actually, my strongest one is funny of the country of people that I've met many times I'm not fans of. So my DNA is heavy Nigerian. I have not met a Nigerian man that I don't want to punch in the face. So, but I digress to stay on topic. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Oh,
I can
okay.
hear you. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that was
Yep,
weird.
yep.
Is that but the stand topic is we as men in America, as you were, I was waiting for you to say it because you were close to it, IO, but you just didn't say it. Is lead from a place of logic. You know,
Yes.
you use a lot
Yeah.
of analogies. If you read in the chat, I said excellent choice of words and analogy. I wait for you that waiting, but I didn't. I don't like interrupting. When somebody's speaking, I shut my pie hole and I listen because I need to
Right.
listen and take.
Right.
It. So
Right.
we need to lead from a place of logic
Right.
because our women are educated. They're critical thinkers, but they still are women. They have the emotions. So we can have emotions too, but you and I both know that men, especially African men in America, we're not allowed to be emotional. We're called
Right.
simps, weak, gay. I don't know how all this even came about. I'm like, I thought I was a human being.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
that. I should only be happy when I'm having sex or and angry when somebody pisses me off. I didn't know that I was not supposed to display and feel the vast amount of emotions. But however, we men, we are fixers, we're engineers,
Mm-hmm.
but women are engineers too. But the reality is, we are uh, in our DNA wired for logic to make things happen. So when you made a comment about the foundation, we have to build a foundation and allow the women and create an environment where the women make this a sanctuary for us where that we feel comfortable. We're going to guard the fort, but once we come inside and we know
Mm-hmm.
the fort's protected, is the fort still a fort, or is the sanctuary made a sanctuary and a wonderful, loving place so we can recharge by our partner or partners? So that is the balance that is not exercised here. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of you need to do this, you need to do that. There's no sitting down. We know what we know the problems. and we talk about the problems, but we don't talk about the root cause, and then we don't bring solutions. We spend more time talking about the problem
Hmm.
and stuff and not going through the process of how to improve it. So with the women, I'm a bit more your, I my teammate, my team analogy is more of a life and death thing. Though I played sports, um, every active most of and Crystal knows most of my activities and my profession that I chose was a lot less about winning trophies as opposed to everybody coming back home alive.
Hmm.
so,
That's a good one.
so,
That's
so,
a good one.
and having been in Africa, I've seen that. I've always shared with the women, a thing when I actually chose this life, a thing called African family structure, and who started polygyny especially, why it continued, and of course how it was basically marginalized and watered down and kept away from us, particularly our women that actually started this, for all noble reasons. That's the funny
Yes.
thing. The
That's
reasons
yes.
they chose it was
Yes.
logical.
It
It
was
was logical.
logical. Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
so but what I see a lot of is, oh, we turn up and having incomes and everything like that. I'm thinking like, I've never needed a woman to help me live comfortably and all this other stuff, and I avoid that. My role
Hmm.
is to provide a safe environment for that woman to flourish, and in return, she's my partner to grow, to where I'm not going out in the world and I come home after fighting my place in the world. I just come home to my abode. Yeah, I have all this nice, accommodations, but there's not much emotion to it.
Hmm.
So with the women, it is sitting down. She said I'm off
You
topic.
were off
She said
topic. I
about
mean, I don't
so,
know where you I
but
get the foundation, but the discussion is because
but
I put this on YouTube,
yeah,
how to be in love with multiple women and
but
manage
it's but it's
multiple
not
relationships.
but it's not. See, this is where it's easy to say that, but it's not just an easy, simple answer. So you want, and this is as a woman, you want a simple answer. It's not simple because it is a lot more complex and layered. So you can say, how to love more than one woman. Okay. I can say, well, you do this, but it's not. So
Hmm.
it's a process. So why you're lost, Chris, is that I was sharing a process. It was logical. There was no feeling about it. So you want me to tell you what you want to hear. That
I
is
want you to say, this is a process. I'm going to break down to you how you would manage multiple relationships. I'm about to start this process and then go into your foundation. If you gave us the foundation of this is the process of how you manage multiple relationships, then I know where you're going. Right now, I'm lost where you're going because you didn't tell us where you're
okay.
going. You didn't give us bullet points. So this is the process of how you are able to build a foundation of managing multiple relationships. Got you. Let's go.
Gotcha. Now, so a lot of things are saying want. So relationships should not be about any want, because we hear our kids say a lot of times about want. So it's about need. So in a relationship, you are in a relationship for a need. So hopefully I'm not losing you on this one, sis. It's the need. My need when I chose this life is when I went back into the dating scene after I left my wife the first time, and I heard the horror stories from my generation of men. Was wow. And I went dating and fast forward and stuff like that because I didn't know, because I didn't know, kind of we have a time frame, so I didn't know if I would be able to be into the meeting or if it'd be too late. But it's a need. I need to see the relationship of the African family in America improve. It is fractured. It is broken. It is decimated. And like I said, we spend more time in saying who does what and what people aren't doing as opposed to what were the root causes and how can we improve that. So managing that again is not so simple. Uh, it takes constant, transparent communication, not just communication, transparent communication. Honest speaking, what you need, not want. And if you think about that deeply, when you want something versus when you need something, I think all of us will want to have a great house, wonderful car, and all this other stuff, atonements. But what we need, those Maslow hierarchy of needs, a safe, clean home, enough decent food for us to eat, and to have enough clothes so we can go out into the world and work. Those are needs. Maslow, this is logic. There's no, I want this great 8,000 square foot house and I want to have this car. I want to have this Mercedes Benz. I need reliable transportation. I need my partners, my spouses, to understand that we are going to be heralds and vanguards because I'm older than you guys by a minimum of a decade, if not more. So when I went on this journey, there weren't even any African polygamy groups. Everything I was searching on Facebook was super patriarchal, authoritarian, Caucasian, Christian polygamy,
Mhm.
period. 2008, there was nothing of this of our skin color. It was a few of us that would be in that. Zero, zilch, nada. So to manage uh loving, it's I look at managing this as I did as a father. I was a stepfather, and my two biological children, two different women. So I had to make sure that I was fair across the board. I even say it now. Even though my children have college degrees, debt free, I'll tell anybody my children should tell you that I was a dick. And I probably said that. My son tore his Achilles tendon. And until he fessed up why he got injured, he already knew what I was going to say to him. I wasn't going to be a tough guy, but I raised him a different way that he should know that. So managing, like you said, is correct. Managing this in a sustainable, tenable, logical way where everybody has a seat at the table. Like Iob says, everybody's going to be different. So there is no I love this person differently, even though we've probably seen that with our parents and relatives that you have a more favorite child.
Hmm.
Um, my mother didn't do it, so I was lucky. My mom didn't do it, so I made sure I didn't do it, you know. So to manage this is to, uh, in the most simplistic way I can say, is effective open communication. I think we as Africans in America, we have this issue of not needing or wanting anybody in our business. But we are the only genus where we are so removed from our heritage. We are literally finding our way here. So again, we have an opportunity to really be better. We can work with our native born brethren and can't, but we are naturally in competition with each other here in America and one another. The reason why I had issues with Nigerians not because I generally have an issue with them. It was I tried to speak with them, but since that's the most powerful and richest country in Africa, they have a very uh righteous mindset, you know, and I can say that having been in Nigeria and having been in the countries that surrounded that, this was they all said that. I was like, oh, okay, that's messed up. That's messed up.
Hmm.
So I don't think it's as simple as you say it, Crystal, but I would say it can be more simplistic as long as we understand the foundations of communication, shared values of actually needing to have a healthy, holistic family structure, the roles as a man, a leader of the family, not head of the household, leader. I hope you said something that the women actually make this work. You are absolutely correct because if you were fighting for your place in the world and you have to play referee because she's not talking to me and she didn't do this, it's creates an air of toxicity. That's like, okay, what happened? So the foundations have to be built on really simple principles and values and stuff. So though saying is simple, the execution is always going to be a challenge if the individuals aren't open and receptive to seeing this family dynamic work. Did that was that a little bit better clarification for you, sis? A little
Yeah,
bit.
absolutely. And because I think that, you have touched on something with even though you don't want to let what's going on in one relationship spill into the other, because everybody understands this is a team and we're all supposed to come together, you have the safe space to communicate and express, hey, well, my other wife, this happened and I'm feeling a little different. I'm feeling a little down about that. And she may give you a safe space without commentary, right? Because she doesn't want to influence what goes on in your other relationship, but give you the safe space to talk to her. Not like you have to shut. I know I've heard of some men saying with one wife, I don't want to hear about what goes on in the other household. So when you come to this household, whatever's going on in that household, I don't want to hear about it. Don't talk to me about it. I don't want to know about it. It's none of my business. Like, so when you come over there, regardless of what happened in this space, you have to completely shut that off. You have to come in with a smile. You have to put on a front like nothing is going on. I think it's important that everybody in the marriage is able to have that safe space. Because if you're able to have that safe space, no matter who you're spending time with, you're able to communicate what's really going on with you and you don't fear retaliation from it. And not having retaliation and knowing no one's going to retaliate against you for expressing how you feel about the other person that, is a part of the family is really important to that family dynamic working because you need to have, I think for men specifically, I think that women, it's like it's known that women are supposed to be given a safe space. We're supposed to be given a safe space to be emotional and talk about what's going on with us. We don't give that same safe space to men. It's that when men want to express what's going on with them, especially when it comes to um them expressing about, say, what's going on with another wife. I don't want to hear it. I don't care. Get over it. They need to have that safe space to be able to know, like, I'm not going to be retaliated against if I express how I feel. And him being able to express how he feels is very important because he doesn't need to be blowing up because he has been trained that there will be retaliation against me. I don't want to go back and forth. I don't want drama. So let me just hold everything in and just constantly put on this face. So I'm going from one relationship to the next, acting like everything is okay instead of really having that safe space. And it's really difficult for women to give a man a safe space because, we've been taught not to do that. Even with our sons, something happens. Oh, get up. Toughen up, boy. What you doing, boy? Stop crying. Stop doing this. Stop doing that. So it's been embedded in us if you have a son since they're little to if he's showing some type of emotion or if you want to cry, boy, grow up. You acting like a girl. Get yourself together. Toughen up. So when it comes to, the person that you love and he's showing vulnerability in something that women have been taught is a uncomfortable experience anyway, you have to know that for this family to work and for these relationships to flourish, he has to have a safe space. I know your mic is not on mute, yeah, but you just being quiet.
That's what I was making sure that my mic was I think my headphone was on mute and my phone is not on mute, but the headphones was. So I'm good. I'm back. But yeah, I agree 100%. I'm listening.
And that's what I had to learn that was really important was I had to learn to give him a safe space because I could tell that maybe in the past, because he's said certain things, it was so much anger that was put towards him that he's like, I don't want to deal with that type of anger. So I just won't say anything. I just won't say anything.
Hmm.
I just won't express
Hmm.
myself in any type of way. And it's like,
Hmm.
no, you have a safe space to be able to express yourself without fearing some type of retaliation, without fearing, I think it's really sad when people set people up for a trap. You say they
Yep.
have a safe space and you say they have a space to be able to express who they are and express how they feel, even if it might sound a little cringy to you. And then now you're mad at them or now you punish them and you retaliate against them for a
Hmm.
safe space that you say that they had. And how often, especially in something like polygyny or polygamy, men don't have a safe space. I mean, look at Nick Cannon. Have you seen him on an interview? I don't want to say nothing about the other woman. I can't talk about her because she gonna get mad. He doesn't have a
Hmm.
safe space.
Nope.
And
Nope.
safe space is really important for those relationships to flourish because honestly, if he feels he doesn't have a safe space, it's like he feels like he's still in some type of prison even though you're
Hmm.
telling him that he's free. He just has multiple people he's in a relationship with, but he's still almost still within the same captivity of monogamy that he said that he didn't want. And he
Yep.
wanted
Yep.
he wanted the opportunity to truly live in his truth, but he's truly not living in his truth because he's still tiptoeing.
Yep. And I would love to ask him, how does that feel to have all of those women and have all of those children, and y'all not operating as a team? I mean, are you saying that the only thing that you was able to get out of that is the fact that you were able to have sex with multiple women and have children, and maybe some of the reason that they're willing to do it is because they're in survival mode. They know that they're going to be taken care of because you're making millions of dollars. You know what I'm saying? So once again, like my brother said, when we're not moving and operating from logic, and see, that's with my wives. If they're not willing to let me sit down and speak logic to them, it's no point in me having a conversation, because what I can't do is sit here and grope in your feelings and your emotions. We're not going to get anywhere like that. Statistics tells us you're not going to get anywhere in your feelings and your emotions, you know? So my wives or women have to be able or willing to come out of this illusion that has been given to us so that we can actually prosper in the relationships that we are, that we want. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, that's what it is. My wife has to be able to allow me to sit down and have what we would call in today's society a tough conversation. It probably wasn't even a conversation, back in maybe ancient times or 300 years ago. This wasn't a conversation, but today it has to be a conversation because I think that we're so far from that center line, you know, we got to get these conversations so we can kind of get back to it. So they got to be willing to look this thing in its face. You know, the women, my wives, they have to be able to sit down and look at one another and say, you know what? Let me stop playing. This is just the God honest truth. You know what I'm saying? Because if you can't deny it, with facts or with logic, then let's roll with it, because we know it's going to, at least let's try it, They always say, hey, don't knock something until you try it, so that's kind of the way I stand when it comes to, those type of things. And, so yeah.
So do you think the reason that uh a lot of women are not even willing to even try it is because they feel that the man does not know or will not be able to successfully manage multiple relationships?
I think when you look at today's society, when it comes to religion, when you bring it to women, a lot of reason why women are not willing to, um, I guess, try it is because the perception of what polygyny is, and they already have a perception of how men are. And their perception of men is that we just want to have multiple women to sleep with. They can't get past their lower chakras. Most of us, from men and women, we think from the waist down. And if you can't get past those lower chakras, I can't even have a intellectual conversation with you. I can't. I can't go any further into the conversation if we're operating from waist down. It's impossible. But because I mean, I'm not taking anything from women and how we as men have operated, but because we've operated from waist down, that's all women, the majority of women know of us. So now to try to come present something to them on an intellectual level, it sounds like gibberish. You know, it doesn't even sound. It sounds foreign to them. You know,
Well, it's
something.
that, but then also, and this is what a lot of like first wives have complained about, when the man meets another woman and starts dating another woman, there's like this NRE type relationship energy going on. And because he does not have the wisdom and discernment to know that you don't just forget, the woman that you've been with, he'll start to spend more time, give way more attention to this other woman, and it causes a lot of issues. And that's what they say by the managing, that you're not able to manage, where you
Hmm.
still have to be just as appreciable, just as grateful with the woman that's been there,
Hmm.
even though you're dating another woman. A lot of women have complained that some men do not know how to do that, which that's what I meant by managing relationships. They can have sex, right, with
Hmm.
multiple
Hmm.
women, but do they know how to manage multiple relationships? Some people can't even have one successful relationship, let
Hmm.
alone where'd that come from? And why is that on there? Please go away. Hold on.
I mean, I definitely would agree with you to a certain degree that, a lot of men, they don't really know how to manage a polygynous relationship. This is not something that we grow up seeing. This is not something that we're being taught. Let's not even go to relationship. Most of us don't even know how to manage money. It's not being taught in school. None of this stuff is being taught to us. And then you're now just asking us, once again, when you just take a man back to his how he operates from a biological standpoint, he wants to deal with multiple women, but he don't know how to manage that. We can
Right,
be very reckless with it, the same way we can be with money. You give us millions of dollars right now. Most of us do not know the first thing to go and do with millions of dollars. Only thing we know how to do is what? Spend, be a
right.
consumer. So therefore, no, most men don't know how to manage, marriage on a monogamous level. Uh, I mean,
Popping
we don't know
tags, and I
how,
got the flick of the wrist.
right? We don't really know how to uh, manage raising children. See see, like my brother said, our generation, it was this stuff that we're talking about now was just supposed to be passed down. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Or we were supposed to be able to look at it and see it. Now, my sons coming up, they would know how to somewhat manage a marriage. They
Mhm.
would know how to manage money. They would know these things because they are being taught and they're seeing it. It's just become second nature to them. But
Yeah.
when we're not seeing it, when we're not around it, when no one is teaching it to us, everything now is a TikTok video or X, Y, and Z. I mean, we're not even going to talk about polygyny. We don't even know how to manage money. Most people right now, if you gave them $1 million, according to statistics, in about 5 years, they're broke. I mean, just look at NBA and NFL players. They make millions of
And
dollars.
come out of the
You know
league
what I'm saying?
broke.
So how much more us, as we would call regular people, right? Which they're regular too, but we look at them as a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
You telling me all this time you had this money that you wouldn't even go and educate yourself? Listen, I've already told the universe, I done manifest. I'm gonna have millions. So what you gotta do, I'm already done set myself up. Me and Chat GPT, we talk all the time. I already know to go get me a tax attorney. I already know where I need to put my money, the interest. I already know all this stuff. So when it hit, I'm ready. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You can't wait for it to show up and then start trying to figure certain things you may have to, But I'm already putting it in motion and then teaching it to my sons and my daughters, even with as we talking about regulating their emotions. I tell my sons all the time, I'm not going to allow y'all to play sports if you cannot self-regulate yourself. You're going to get upset. You're going to get mad because somebody said this or somebody did this. You must be able to self-regulate yourself so you can get to the next step. And if you look at us, I personally think that is the next step for humanity. Being able to self-regulate themselves because everything that is given to us, all the way down to food, it allows us not to be able to self-regulate ourselves because of the way certain foods smell, the way they make it, the way it causes the brain to want it. Sugar. If you can't self-regulate yourself, you're in a very like you're always being controlled by the system. So when we just take it and move it away from marriage to a certain degree, because sometimes that blind people, okay, well, let me bring it down to your level. Most of us, you know, most Americans, let's say Africans or black people, how we want to, we live from paycheck to paycheck. We're in survival mode, you know?
Yeah.
So until you get us out of survival mode, and that's what my brother said that I love about what he said. You don't want a woman in survival mode. That's a woman that I can't trust because she is willing to do anything to survive. And you almost cannot blame her. You
Including
cannot
being including
blame
being with you.
Yes, you cannot blame the woman if you put her in survival mode. You see what I'm saying? You can't blame her. So keep her out of survival mode. When you present polygyny to her, she don't need to be in survival mode. She now is able to be in her feminine attribute where she can be creative. She can nurture your vision. I always tell people we talk about nurture a lot, and most people don't even know the definition of nurture, right? I say, what does it mean to nurture? Most people looking like nurture just means to help grow. I need my wife to nurture my vision. Help me grow the vision. You see what I'm saying? Because that's just the characteristic that a woman has that every man wants from a woman. Knowingly or unknowingly, you want her to nurture you. You know what I'm saying? Help this grow. If you put a seed in her, what do you want her to do? Nurture that seed and it will begin to grow.
Hmm.
So keep the woman out of survival mode. You have to pass down this. Everybody talks about generational wealth. Well, we got to pass down generational health, generational knowledge. All of this stuff has been stripped and taken away from us. And then we just jump right into what we call relationships and marriage because biologically we're just wired to want the opposite sex. So we want something that we don't fully understand. I tell people that all the time. Feminine and masculine, their energies, it's like fire and gas. If you pour too much gas on that fire, you blow some shit up. Excuse my language. You have to understand those two energies before you put them together. You see what I'm saying? Everything revolves around that energy. So when you're looking at this marriage and you're looking at polygyny, everybody definitely got to be able to understand what we got going on here. And I think that takes what we're doing here on this line. It takes teaching. I tell people all the time, you make decisions based off the amount of information that you have. Most of us don't even have the information, Crystal. So we're
Right.
making
We're in a
decisions,
we're in a little bubble.
yeah, with not even enough information because most people will say, Man, if I knew what I knew now, man, I wouldn't have made that decision. You can only make decisions off the information that you have. You
And then
know,
sometimes
remember?
you're so stuck on, not changing. Like it's amazing how I'm gonna give an example of how we
Hey.
just don't want to change. So they'll tell a woman, say she becomes pregnant, they'll say, "Oh, you're 6 week pregnant." No, you're not, because you can't be pregnant on your cycle. And you're not pregnant those days after because you don't even ovulate yet. So they have you at 6 weeks, and you're not even 6 weeks. You're actually, in reality, 4 weeks. But for whatever reason, they don't want to change it. They want to keep saying and looking for a baby at 6 weeks and then constantly telling you, oh, we don't see the baby on the ultrasound. Of course, I'm 4 weeks. Oh, come back next time and scare you halfway to death because they don't hear a heartbeat.
Mm,
It's just like we're just so used to doing the same thing, even though we get these crazy results, instead of actually being open. So we're just wired to just be so closed-minded to just not want to change anything. So you talk about trying to be open. We can give the information, we can teach the information, but are you
mhm,
even open enough? I'm not saying you got to do it, go out and run and be in polygyny tomorrow, but I'm saying, are you even open enough to understand the biblical reference and understand what and also you cannot do. I tell any woman, you can't do polygyny with every guy.
mm,
Every guy that approaches you with polygyny, you don't do. Oh, no. There's certain characteristics you have to see in that man. Like you said, you want to know how he's going to manage relationships. Look at how he managed his life.
mhm,
Is he
mhm,
managing his own life? Is he managing,
mhm,
does he have all these health problems? Does he have all these
mhm,
financial problems? If he
mhm,
has problems within his own life, then I don't think he's the man to do polygyny with, because he's got to be able to manage successfully
mhm, mhm,
multiple children,
mhm,
multiple relationships, multiple emotions. If he cannot manage his own life,
mhm.
then I don't,
And that's
and I think that's a big thing
right.
that you overlook. Oh, I can help him. Oh, I can build him to do this. You got a hammer in your hand. You try to make a build a man. I don't think
Mhm.
you need to do a build a man when it comes to polygyny.
Right, right. And that's something that you said very key, and I'll digress after this. That's something that my second wife coming in said. She said, I saw how you treated and dealt with your family, your wife, and your children, and that what made me want it to be a part of your family. You know, she basically saw how I managed what I already had, you know. She saw how I was managing that. It's kind of like once again, you go out to a company, you see how the company is running, you see this, you see the perks, you see the that, and you're like, you know what? Huh, I can,
Hmm.
you know, I would like to go and work for this company right here. It's just if when we just bring it back to things that we can relate with, when you
Hmm.
start dealing with relationship, because like my brother said, at the end of the day, and I said it earlier before he got on, we have to be able to benefit one another. It's about our needs being met, which is the foundation, and now we can build whatever type of life that we want to build moving forward. I digress with that one. I got to hear what my brother got to say with all of that.
Well, well, no, I love this interactive engagement because let me tell you something. Uh, from my journey of this, uh, you are the only man that actually wished to have this dialogue. There has always been so much pushback
Mm,
because, like
mm,
you guys have said, and I'm sure you guys have seen it because I see it. Everybody's throwing around poly, like cats are shooting a basketball during before warm up game.
mm,
I was an athlete. I was a jock in high school with football and weightlifting and swimming. Um, I'm probably the most non-African in America because I can care less about basketball. I basketball.
mm,
I would probably watch baseball before I watch basketball. It just does. But my thing for sport is there's a possibility you're not going to have a permanent injury. I don't consider that a sport, but I'm a different person. Um, but it is, it is, it is important to, as you both said, is knowing how to manage your life before you
mm,
require somebody to come into your life and say, hey, I need you to trust me that I know what I need to do, especially as a man. I'm not a woman. I have no desire to be a woman. That whole, and I can definitely tell you,
Oh, you
we are
don't.
the,
You don't
we are
want
the,
to get. You don't want to be a
we,
trans woman.
we are the only genus that talk about masculine and feminine energy. Asians don't do it. Latinos don't do it. Caucasians don't do it. Only Africans. Since, especially, I can say that because most of my friendships are with every other genus but us. But that's because of the life that I chose. I wasn't around us that much. So not that I hated us, it's just I chose different paths. Even though I'm from Brooklyn, New York, I cannot rap. Okay. I grew up around Sean Carter and Chris Rock and all of them. I can't rap, I can't act. I'm good with a weapon. I'm part fish. I'm more of an outdoorsman. I just happen to have grown up in New York. So
We know.
everybody,
We can hear your accent.
yes. So everybody says poly, 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 poly. And like I said, when it was just polygamy. Then I saw, polygamy and other polyamory. Now all I see is poly. It's almost like a game. It's a TikTok, like Iob said. It's like a TikTok and Instagram. It's just there is no uh need to take this serious. It is something to try. Or when they say this is a lifestyle, I have sacrificed way too much to call this a lifestyle. Maybe for other folks, this is a lifestyle. This is not a lifestyle for me. You know, I love shooting. I wish I can shoot a few times a month, but rounds are expensive. So, yeah, that's my lifestyle. This is not a lifestyle for me. So I listen to that and I cringe. So words do matter. They do. Even though people say they don't, they do. Just like they
Mm-hmm.
always say, and I'll use that wonderful N word. I don't say that around each other. I think that's the asinine, ludicrous, stupid thing to say. What's up, my nigga? But a Caucasian can't say that. So don't say it to each other. Period.
Mm-hmm.
That's stupid. I don't care. I don't want to hear, oh, we don't, because we say nigga instead of nigger. No, period. Don't try to dress it up. Oh, there's a country called Niger. Okay. And Nigeria. But okay, they don't sound the same. Niger and Nigeria don't sound like nigga or nigger. They may look similar, but they're not. So
Mhm.
no, don't try to put that in here. So we need to seriously sit down and take things seriously. I don't know if you've been reading the chats, brother. You know,
Mm-hmm.
is our sustain, like you said, sustainable. Yes, survival is not a good thing. You should
Mm-mm.
sustainable is a lot easier. And
Mm-hmm.
why we've lost that? Yes. People say they get, like you said, give somebody $1 million and stuff. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't know what to do. They're consumers.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, this is where you and I will diverge from. I could have been a millionaire 1,000 times over, but that doesn't. My mother's an accountant. My mother has 2 degrees. I could have followed her. I'm a diver. I can care less about the big fancy house and 18 cars. I've had that in my marriage, and I married a snake. She actually
Mm.
embezzled from my mother, and my mom didn't realize it. Instead of her speaking to me, she listened to this woman, and I was devastated that you would think that I would get married and I wouldn't manage my responsibilities as a father. I was taking care of your grandchildren, mom. Why would I marry a woman and take care of her child and put her through college too? I didn't have to. I could have divorced my wife and left my bonus daughter in the code. So, uh, sensible, respectful conversations. We too easy can be confrontational. We need to stop being confrontational. You made a good point. We need more collaborative in our conversations, not confrontational. You can be accountable. You can hold somebody accountable without being confrontational. Okay. We're more educated. than our ancestors were many years ago because we have access to that. It's not just the internet, but to colleges and all that good stuff. We just, with our freedoms, we don't, to take what you said, we don't manage that effectively in a sustainable manner. We too busy take our freedoms to say what we want to say as opposed to saying what needs to be said, what needs to be addressed. Saying something and addressing something are truly different things. That's why when they have political things, they'll say the presidential address because they have to address important things. And that's what we need to do as people who chose this as our life, not our lifestyle. We need to address this on how best to do that. The unique thing about this being in America, which is also can be the challenge, is everybody says this is the way you should do this. I'm free, so I can do what I want, as opposed to sitting here and saying, okay, you wish to do this, but at the foundation, what do the three of us need? We need to have a healthy, holistic, sustainable family unit. So there may be little differences of how we do that. As we always said, there's more than one way to skin a cat. People aren't having a conversation on how to best navigate tracks on how to
Hmm.
attain the sameness of result. That's where I see the problem is. I, as a man, can say this. I don't need any woman to build an empire. I just, when you said the chakra thing, I just, over the last year, I studied, I took my test for the past few months. I'm a certified acupuncturist now on the civilian side, sound bowl healer, and meditation. And trust me, chakra was, I think we learn new words and say that. So when you said that, like, it's not exactly our lower chakras are not just our penis. It's this other lower. But I said, okay, that's why I put that out there. Like, oh, you shouldn't have said that, but it's okay. It's like I said, it's you can hold each other accountable without being confrontational. And if you're curious about chakras, brother, I'd be happy to share with you. I'll inundate you with information. But coming back, so Chris doesn't feel like I'm going off topic.
I was about to stop you if you started going into a deep conversation about
No,
chakras. I
I
promise
but
you.
that was but
You were
that's
about to get a stop and
no,
just,
but
just
see,
cease letter.
I got it. See, you know, I know the rules of engagement. See, I know the ground rules. So we just need to really have more conversations, and not just the three of us, but actually uh facilitate symposiums. I've always heard, Crystal, you heard me say that a billion times. That's what needs to be symposiums, not just we gonna have a meeting, people gonna talk. No, let's have people that can effectively manage and facilitate the crowd that they say things and have questions. Hey, and go. Io made a comment about statistics. And when he said that, I forgot I forgot what he was referring to. But when he said it, I'm like, yeah, he's right. Because I actually studied this. When I chose
Hmm.
this life, I knew how can I convince the modern professional African woman in America to
Hmm.
choose this.
Hmm. Hmm. And statistics is something that I study religiously because it's going to get me closer to the truth and the facts because it's been studied over time, you know? So,
So that's will be the biggest thing is really managing to have everybody feel inclusive. And if you really wish to live this life, not lifestyle, is truly be willing to grasp an understanding. And even though we have so much freedom to do and live your life. You have your own choose your life, liberty, and prosperity for your own degree, long as you don't impose on others. But if there are those that think like you, let's sit together to see how we can manage this. Do you know how many men argue with me about going to Congress making this?
I'm
Mm.
sure a
Yeah,
lot do because they don't want the
every man.
responsibility.
They said, I don't want the government to tell me how to love. I'm like, well, guy, the government is telling you how to do everything else. You can't. I said, I said, driver's licenses are less than 100 years old.
Hmm.
So you
Yeah,
didn't
100
have to
years
have a
ago.
driver's license in the
Right,
early days of automobile. You didn't have
right.
to. So it's like we take our freedom and it's not realize that our freedoms still have some stipulations and we have to work with those things because if we're supposed to be one
I
nation
think
under a deity, and my mother, her second degree is in theology, so she's an accountant, retired federal government accountant. And then as she retired, she got her second degree because she always wanted to be a pastor. But she, as a divorcee, realized it'd be hard to raise four children on a pastor salary in 1970s Brooklyn, New York. You know, the whole female pastor thing is really only less than 20 years old. And as far as I know, there's only one woman, that Caucasian woman with the short hair, that's on TV. I really don't see any other women. You know, there's other women in churches, but as far as powerful. So uh we need to be able to navigate this. And as the key word here, I think we should manage this, like you said, Crystal, manage this in an effective, sustainable way and work with each other. Not saying I don't want, get away from the fantasy and let's operate on facts, empirical data, statistics. That's going to help this work. The LGBT community got their rights, not because, I mean, it exploded. I'm pretty sure President Obama, if he knew, he probably would have not done it. But it was done because so many married couples who were once, if one of the partners or both partners were straight and had a couple had a child, well, now they built this life with their partner and they die, and the family takes everything away from them. That was the biggest reason why they fought for that right, so they can have legal weddings. And the fact that something that's in the Bible, like over 80% of the men in the Bible were polygamists. And it wasn't just rich men, Noah, Moses. It wasn't just David, Nebuchadnezzar, and stuff, and Solomon. So many men in the Bible, even working men, were polygamists because it was a family unit. It was protecting the women. It was having it wasn't just about making children. It was, yeah, probably making children to work the fields and do stuff, but the men's responsibility were to be the leaders. And this where I think has been lost is, like you were saying, we lost the ability to be leaders. We're too busy saying I want to be the head of the household. But when there's a problem, when you're a leader, you're going to take that hit and you can accept that responsibility. The women are your advisors. You don't shut them down, they're your advisors. If you can't trust who you're sharing your bed with, that's kind of sad. Even though you, as the leader of the family, will make the final decision, the individuals whose lives you're going to impact, you need to listen to what they have to say. So those are the things that, like I said, it's it's the answers are simple, but the execution, truly, guys, is layered. It is massively layered. Um, my partners and my future spouses, I actually have three counselors lined up, and just the logistics of getting them to fill out the paperwork to send to the counselors, I need to be on them. And I said, guys, if you're saying you need to be part of this, and we spoke about this, and you guys speak, I said, I need you guys to do this because when you ask something of me, I do it. So it's making sure we hold each other accountable to make something that if everybody truly needs to be part of this, is to have that buy-in that they're included and they wish to be a part of that.
No, that's very true. And that's really going on. You have to have the people that you're bringing together, you have to have a team of people that look at this like a cohesive uh kind of like business. We're a team and we all play different parts, and each of our parts make this machine run smoother. And so we all have a part to play in this to make sure that things are successful. You can't have like selfish people are only thinking of themselves and something like polygyny, like it's not going to work. But then also I feel like from the woman's side, oh, I would not advise any woman to just go into polygyny. I would advise her to really take some time before she enters into that. You have a lot of things that you have been taught that are in your mind in ways you couldn't even imagine, and they don't come into the forefront until you have trigger moments. So when you have those trigger moments, that's letting you know that they say that a cell holds like a score. So your brain, whenever you hear something, it automatically takes you back to a negative reaction that you have been taught. So you have a lot of unlearning and you have a lot of unprogramming to do in ways that you couldn't even imagine before you can enter into polygyny successfully, before you can actually even embrace the idea of the man that you love, bringing in a person and loving her on that same level. That has been taught to you that that is the ultimate disrespect and the ultimate pain. So you might be on the surface and think that that's okay, but that might trigger you. And you have to understand that it's going to trigger you. And when it triggers you, you have to know that that's coming from a program mindset. So I don't think that we should teach people when it comes to relationships, when you experience something negative, to run away from it, or to think that it's something bad, or to think that it's something that's not meant for you. But you have to understand that because of the programming and because of our culture and because of the way that you've been raised, you're going to have trigger moments. And so you have those trigger moments, you acknowledge them and say, hey, I'm having this trigger moment is because my brain has been taught that for him to experience her in this way, I have been taught that's disrespectful. So now I feel that I have been disrespected, even though in reality, he didn't disrespect me because this is something I knew about and something that he was open to me about. So you allow yourself to experience that, but you also allow yourself to understand the root of where that's coming from. So I think everybody just wants to make relationships just seem so like hunky dory and oh my God, we're just gonna get along, we're just gonna do this. And if you don't, if there's jealousy, if there's this, if there's that, then something is wrong with you, not knowing that you're going to have trigger moments and understanding the root of where those trigger moments come from, that this is what you've been taught. So a woman really has to prepare herself, and men go through it too, right? That you're going to have trigger moments because something has been embedded in you for 30, 40, however many decades. Now you're saying, I'm going against this. Now you're saying, I'm doing something different than what I've been taught that family actually is. So all you've been taught is the way that you're trying to do a family is bad, is negative. You lose your value, low self-esteem, is disrespectful. So you're going to have moments where what you've been taught, it's going to trigger you because it's just like it's really a way to keep you safe. No one said to you for years, "Hey, if you cross the street, look left and right so you don't get hit by a car." So you get to that street and you're trying to cross it, automatically you're triggered. Oh shoot, I need to look left and right because I can get hit by a car. It's the same thing, the same mechanism that can be hard to deal with is the same mechanism that saves your life. So don't think that you're not going to be triggered, but do understand where these triggerings are coming from. And that'll help you still be able to thrive even when you have those negative moments, and don't shy away from them and think because you have them, something's wrong with you. I think this whole narrative of you're not going to have these trigger moments, you're not going to experience jealousy, you're not going to experience envy, you're not going to experience this is not true. We're not telling people to embrace that and how to deal with it when you experience it. We're saying, oh, we're sisters. Oh, we love each other. And oh, we're never going to experience this. And oh, we just have happiness and there's no this and there's no that. And that's not reality. So when it happens to you and when you feel that, even before you get into it, because of what the narrative has been showing you, when you experience that for a second, you get triggered. Oh, this isn't for me. Oh, I can't deal with it because I got triggered. So therefore, there's no way to have multiple successful relationships because people don't know how to handle that you're going to be triggered.
Brother
I agree.
I,
Yeah, I agree. 100%. I tell people all the time, most people, if they get into a monogamous relationship and it fails, have you tried it again? So it's no different from polygyny.
and like I said, trust me, guys. I told Crystal and I talked a little bit, but I always keep it simple. We would need at best to give you the best condensed version of the yeah, this couldn't have been conjured up on any level of hip hop, Real Housewives, or a uh a Tyler Perry. And I mean, I wish I wasn't even using those analogies, guys. But when I
Mm,
tell you what I have endured in this journey,
mm, mm.
like you said, if it didn't work, did you stop or you kept, like they said, you fall off the horse, you get back on.
Get back on. Yeah.
I made a conscious decision out of out of I think both family dynamics can be effective. Because
Hmm.
that's another thing. You made a comment about men are what want to be with other more than one woman. Honestly, I never really thought about it because even when I was in the military and I was going to Africa and the Middle East a lot, and I saw it, met it, shit, you know, I never thought about it because I was indoctrinated to monogamy is our way. I knew we had the fringe people, the Mormons, and the Seven-Day Adventists who were in the Wyoming and Utah area, but we all know that Caucasians in America will be given a pass
Woo!
a lot more.
Don't get us kicked off YouTube now.
I know, because trust me, if if more if Caucasian knew about the Yoruba culture that's in and I know the biggest communities are in Philly and Chicago and stuff. Oh my God, they would freaking have that's another thing that this administration would probably go after. You're like, okay, if they've been here for decades, what's the problem? So heck, and you done had about 5 or 6 different shows about polygamy with the bulk of the people in it
Hmm.
were of a more pale skin, straight hair variety.
Oh, you could
Because
say that, most of the polygamy shows have been about,
I know
white people.
I was making being facetious and stuff because I can guarantee you, trust me, if I would have sat here and tried to share my story I went through, and I still have exes that real cool, you know. Oh gosh, I guarantee you, I probably would have had they would you would have people trying to get me arrested. I know that, you know. So it is ultimately to always uh, remember the beauty, even with all the chaos, at how those of us who are trying to live this as our life, as our
Hmm.
choice, not a lifestyle. Fitness, even I'm a big fitness health nut, but I will fall off the wagon. I like a pizza like anybody.
Hmm.
I love my Twizzlers.
Hmm.
I'll indulge in that. You
I gotta have
know,
I gotta have my Twix every so often. I'm just saying.
so I understand. So and I consider that's my life, you know. Uh but uh I think even if I had a much larger fortune, could I afford to go to what's the big chain supermarket? Not Fresh Market. Is it Fresh Market? And Sprout, yeah, Fresh Market and Sprouts.
Hmm.
Those are the big chain health food stores. I'm not going to pay $900. I'll go to Publix, Publix and Aldi's. I can still get good food that is not going to be relatively pumped with steroids, So yeah, but I would rather grow my own stuff. So it is. We are still. We are not a type one civilization yet. That's a different thing. I'm not going to go and digress about that. So we still have natural disasters. So even with all our change, uh, uh, um, trying to make money and save money in an emergency when the internet and power grids are down, do you actually have stores? Do you have, and that's the thing that also needs to be taught. We as men, we have to let our women know that, hey, in an emergency, we may not be able to be comfortable, you know, or live lavishly. We need to be comfortable and sustain. So having backup generators, uh, have heirloom seeds, having a tote or two of survival food, you know, uh, potable water things, you know, that's nothing wrong with that because until we can actually control our weather environment, we can still be put into the Stone Age. And I think that is an important thing that we need to do as men. We cannot forget that most of our existence as humans, that we toiled only within the last 100 years have we benefit from technology. But you know, wildfires, hurricanes, and that's the biggest thing that men who choose this life have to look at things from a broad base, not sell a dream of, oh, we can, imagine women aren't going to be jealous. Well, the women in America, especially the African women, has been indoctrinated to have your man just for yourself.
Hmm.
So how can you imagine that pixie dust and they're not jealous? That in itself is a fallacy. And and we have three incomes and multiple streams. Again, statistically and stuff through CDC, NIH, Department of Labor, the African, West African people in America, we African Americans, we have the least uh net worth versus our peers. So we can't sell a dream. We need to discuss deliberate plans to execute things to get our communities out of dilemma of 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 destitution, uh, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and in the family environment. And it takes people, I feel, like ourselves And those who choose to practice monogamy, they it's to sit down and actually have candid, collaborative discussions, you know, to to have our men and women find our way back to having not just a nuclear family, what our ancestors have been indoctrinated with, but those of us who choose to re-embrace the other version of the nuclear family that was started in the motherland by our esteemed women, you know, have those conversations and initiatives to how best to do that. And like I said, not wanting to go to Congress, so we don't look this as a lifestyle. Well, this is a fringe thing. People just want to have fun. It
Hmm.
doesn't help.
Hmm.
We're in the most law laden country in the planet. So for us to be able to walk around freely, because I'm pretty sure you've probably dealt with it, Io. I don't know if you have. I've dealt with it more than a few times. And when I've gone out, I've gone on vacations with partners, and yeah, we would sit here and entertain people for hours, asking how you do it. And oh my God, I'm like, no, we're just a regular family. There's no magic bullet. We're not sitting here turning up. We're just here's our family on vacation.
Hmm.
Don't worry. There's not gonna be come to our suite and stuff, and there's gonna be a party. No,
Mm-mm.
I just came from doing an excursion, and my partners were at the pool or whatever. And hey guys, I'm back. I kissed them. So uh, these simple topics will always take the most uh, layered materials. Go back to your building thing. You need to have a solid, simple foundation, but to make that house sturdy, you're gonna need a variety of materials.
Hmm.
So a foundation can be simple, but making that home around that frame is a bit more layered and complicated. And that's what we need to collaboratively work together and make it happen. Not just having talks, but having these discussions.
And I think the issue that we're running into with this society is they don't even want to get married no more. Let's not even talk about polygyny. Let's just talk about marriage within itself. They don't even want to get married anymore. The marriage rates are down. People are not seeing marriage in a way that's going to be beneficial in their life. So right now, we're in a society now where the attack is just on marriage within itself. So even if you went out and legalized polygyny today, it'd be the same exact thing. People, people think people are just gonna rise up and say, "No, do you understand? We're going the other route. We're going the other route where people are starting to have less children. We're going the other route where people are not getting married like they used to. We're going the other route where you're seeing more." Same-sex marriages where there's not going to be, if there's any procreation, it might be one child or something like that because it's going to be very expensive because you have to either get a sperm donor. So now you're either missing a mother or you're missing a father, or you have to do some type of IVF treatment, which is very, very expensive. So we're talking about polygyny and coming together in this large family in a mass society that is going the complete opposite of what we're even talking about. They don't even want to get married. That we have created a word called situationship. Like, and people will say, I am in a situationship. I'm like, what the heck is that? So it's like the situationship in their mind is now a relationship, and they can't even say like we're friends with benefits no more. That is
Oh
like, don't
God.
you dare say those three words. We're in a situationship. And it's like, what the heck is that? You are reminded every time with your situationship if you even try to get some type of benefits from a relationship, well, I told you we weren't together. I was like, well, I thought you said we were, yeah, but we're in a situationship. So we're just getting further and further away from even having a relationship. I mean, people be in situationships for years, and for some reason, they meet parents and stuff in a situationship. It's like, what the heck you mean a parent for in a situationship? And in the moment that you think you guys are together, you're reminded once again, I never said we were together. You'll have a whole baby in a situationship. And it's like, I don't understand. We had a whole baby. Aren't we together now? It's like, no, I told you we were in a situationship. So for us to even, I don't care about the masses no more. I don't give a darn. It's like whoever wants to hear the message, because you think you're gonna reach the masses that are in situationships now, and they bring home a person in a situationship to meet their parents and letting them know this is my friend. Because you got to be introduced as a friend because you're not in a relationship, so you are a
Oh
friend
God.
in a
Oh God.
situationship for years. So I
Okay.
mean, that's where we're at with the masses. So
Oh my
I
God.
have no mental capacity to speak to the masses at this point. It's whoever can understand, open their mind, and there's men and women too in situationships. Don't just think it's just men who just want to be in situationships now. It's women too. Oh man, girl, I've been in a situationship with him for 3 years. I'm like, for real? Where did that get you? Well, we ain't met family and stuff like that, and we don't really get to see each other out in the sunlight, but he's there and takes care of my kids and stuff like that. So you got men that are taking care of children in situationships. So I've just given up about the masses. It's just whoever wants to get this information. My main thing is the ones that want to hear, the ones that will be open, give them the right information. But here we go, trying to talk to people about polygyny and coming together who are like, no, I'm in a situationship. It's like, what? So yeah, which I hate that word so, so bad. And they'll carry that on for years and constantly be reminded, well, we're not together. I never said that we were in a relationship. I never said that we were exclusive, just like poly. What the heck is solo poly? To me, solo poly, they say, is I'm dating without a committed partner. Well, I thought that was just dating. I didn't know that we had to be solo poly. Like if you're dating, you don't have anybody that you're exclusively talking to. You may even engage in some type of sexual activity while you're dating. I don't consider that anything. I just consider that you're dating and you just haven't found somebody that you actually want to be with. But nowadays it's solo poly. Like everything has a title except marriage. Like marriage is it's just the doom and the gloom. They say once you marry her, now all of a sudden you're in a sexless marriage. But once you marry him, now all of a sudden he don't do what he used to do. But no, we don't need that because we get the same benefits and the same everything in a situationship. So we're trying to talk to people about something so complex that involves multiple structures, multiple relationships, when they're in situationships that you have no accountability, no responsibility to, and you could just come and go as you please and still get the same benefits of everything we're speaking of because you told them you're in a situationship.
Oh,
That's the retardation
okay.
that we're dealing with today. That I don't think that we dealt with when we were growing up, and I don't think that we dealt with when our parents were growing up. I think this is something that's new, this situationship, and there's no concern for any type of accountability or any type of responsibility for you because you'll find out real soon, real fast. People don't want the responsibility. They're marrying AI holograms.
Huh?
Hmm.
Yes, you didn't hear about that?
No, I
Hear
have
about
not.
they're gonna have some AI kids.
Okay.
So it's just like the main
You
thing is
said,
that we're trying to get people to be more accountable and be more responsible, but that's what people are shying away from.
okay. So
So let me ask a question. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just laughing, taking. I'm like, what? Like, oh
So
God.
here's my question, Crystal, to what you just said. You said a lot. So let's the end part. Does marriage actually benefit the man and the woman in today's society? Because what may have worked 100 years ago may not work today. So, does marriage actually benefits the man or the woman in the society that we live in today?
Um,
Because remember now, if something doesn't benefit you, why do it? Are we
Mm.
doing it from a programming standpoint? This is what our grandparents or grandmama told us to do, you know?
I
Does in 2025, does marriage benefit the man and the woman in today's society?
I think that I think that marriage gives you a lot of like stability. I think that marriage keeps you focused. I think that marriage actually gives you something that you can build and you can sustain. But it's difficult because jobs are not what they used to be anymore. You know, people used to work 30, 40 years at one company and retire. Now, more likely you're going to bounce from this job to this job to this job to this job to this job. It's like stability doesn't even exist anymore, you know, because our society is so up and down.
Right.
So when you
So let me throw a monkey wrench in there for you there, right? So I'll tell my wives when we're just having random conversation, I could actually live a better life and it probably would be less stress if I didn't have a family.
Hold on, let me go get the water.
I could go out here and probably live better from a financial standpoint, less stress, less worries. I have no one to worry about. I have no one to provide for, only for myself. I don't have to deal with no emotions, only my emotions. I don't have to deal with any of that if I just did it all myself. So I'm throwing a monkey wrench in there, right? So does marriage actually benefit,
I
you
think
know?
so because
Okay,
like
I'm
okay,
listening.
I
Go ahead.
looked at the Hugh Hefner story, American Playboy. So you know he lived a life where he wanted to be single and be the playboy and have all these, you know, different women and doing whatever he wanted to do. And he did. But there was always some type of time where just that got old and he wanted something real and he wanted something with substance and he wanted something that he could actually grow with, somebody that he could actually grow with. And then it seems like when he, you know, because when he died, you know, people thought he had all these girlfriends. No, he actually just had one wife. Um, but he actually yearned for to have a real connection with someone that he could actually grow with. And so I don't think that marriage necessarily is something that we've been taught and you could live that life but then it becomes empty and then you yearn for and you value a connection, you value somebody that you could grow with, you value somebody that understands you, you value somebody that you can talk to. You could be out here with no children but then you value having a legacy and then you value there's a part of you that's left in this world. It's all it comes into a part of your purpose and it kind of goes into your God-given purpose, these things that come and align in your life that yeah, you can go out and live this life, but there's always something in you, usually at some point, like I want something real, I want a real connection. I desire a
So,
legacy.
so before you get too far, I heard you said the word purpose. So would you say marriage should be based more around intentions? Like, what are my intentions? You know, if I make a decision, I have certain intentions of why I made this decision, meaning therefore I have now have some type of goal that I would like to work towards
Mhm.
or X, Y, and Z. Would you are you that's what you're saying? Would I be kind of sort of close to what you're saying?
Marriage, I definitely think is intentional, because you are attaching yourself to someone that can greatly impact that can greatly impact your life, both positively and negatively.
Right. So basically what I'm saying is when we look at marriage in 2025, from my perspective, I think it's more of a programming. Anytime that you're running off of a programming is never good, meaning someone else programmed us, you know? Someone else is running this simulation, you know? And you can't trust it, you know? So therefore, for what you're saying, it's not it's not benefiting men and women to get married in 2025 because we're running off a program with there's no intentions.
But you said marriage is intentional.
That's what I'm saying. I think today people are getting married from more of a programming standpoint, the ones that are getting married to a certain degree, and there's no intentions behind it. So back then, if we go back some years and years ago or during ancient time, men understood legacy way differently than we understand legacy today. We don't look at legacy the same anymore. We don't look at men wanting to get to a place where they're very ambitious and they just want to have almost a corner of the earth to themselves to say, this is what I built and this is how I want it to look and how I want it to run with my heirs, with my wives, with my children, from a family, or I would like to say more from a tribal standpoint. You know, when I look up the definition of family versus tribal, we're moving more as family versus more as a tribal people, you know? So when the intentions are not there, what it doesn't benefit marriage in 2025 in America. Marriage doesn't it doesn't benefit, because we're still under the same programming of depending on what era you in when it comes to marriage. Marriage. I'm the man. You shut up. I say what it is. You just listen. The only thing you good for is laying on your back. I
Woo!
ain't supposed to listen to you, and you just do it. Depend on what area that you're in when you're talking about marriage.
Yeah, they even got some women calling their husband master. It'd be a
I
cold
mean,
day in hell before that happened.
you know, now, does it really benefit us? And once again, I can sit and have a conversation with my wives and say, if I didn't have y'all and these children, I could go get me a nice little RV and move whenever I want to move and do whatever I want to do, make as much money as I want to make, and spend it all on myself.
But that would get old at some point.
Why would you say that? The
I mean,
same way that
look at everybody you're
this
talking about that
the
has what
same
you
the
said.
same way
It
that you
gets
said Hugh
old.
Hefner, it got old for him, right? Well, now I'm throwing a monkey wrench in there. Well, what if married people saying, man, this thing is just getting old?
I
Everybody can say that.
are you
Eh,
I don't think you are reading the text because like I said, I don't like interrupting when somebody's speaking. Um but are you directing this just towards Crystal or can I also
Oh yeah, yeah,
include
no,
you?
no, jump in. Yeah, yeah,
No,
definitely jump in.
I'm not sure. That's why, so I agree with you on some points. I can counterpoint. Like you said, I feel a lot more men are caught up in money. But if you
Hmm.
look at the history of us as a species,
Hmm.
most of the great men weren't rich. If you look at our two most well-known uh, uh, leaders in this country, Malcolm X and Martin were poor. They were dirt poor. They were
Hmm.
just being, but they were able to get so many people together. We are now, especially as men, in African and American mindset, are caught up on money.
Hmm.
Now, like you said about RV, I'm an outdoorsman.
Hmm.
I don't even need an RV. I have my own camping equipment.
There you
Even
go.
before I went into the military, uh, you know, my family's from South Carolina, so I was able to leave New York for the summers to be down in the country and learn how to fish and hunt and do
Hmm.
all that good stuff. So going into the military worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
But to stay on topic, marriage, and I'm gonna take something you said. You said marriage is the ultimate organization.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna add on to that. Here's my cosign with that. Not only the ultimate organization, it is the ultimate career. Like Crystal said, most people will stay with one career and stuff, but because society, we have to evolve. And that's
Mm-hmm.
the thing. I think when our saying we're evolving, sometimes we devolve because we, especially here in America, we have more freedoms than even our other fellow democratic countries. You know, we really have, like I said, uh, women here in America have more freedoms than even women in England.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and that's who we fought to get our independence from, right? And end up turning around helping us abolish slavery.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
marriage as a man, because all three of my children are married
Mm-hmm.
and they have their children from their spouses. Uh, my daughter and her husband are going through some problems. She's not leaving him because
Mm-hmm.
it's a covenant. That's
Right.
what I think is going. It's that covenant. Uh, so I understand what you're talking about programming and indoctrination,
Mm-hmm.
but it's forgotten about. I am uh, dedicating myself to growing with you,
Mm-hmm.
and I am willing to be accountable. I think they take marriage like Crystal said. I think we all have seen situations where people were in situationships or dating whatever for
Mm-hmm.
10 years. And
Mm-hmm.
then they finally get married for whatever reason. The man finally decided to say, let me marry old girl. She ain't going nowhere. I ain't going nowhere. And it turns into a dumpster fire within
Mm-hmm.
3 months.
Mm-hmm.
So they done made 4 kids. And when they were going together, and both of them were really probably were even faithful to each other.
Mm-hmm.
The man may have flirted, the woman may have flirted, but they didn't do anything. But the moment they get married, something happens to where it just turns into a dumpster fire.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them or both of them cheat. And it's how did it turn like you feel like you're locked down? In America, marriage in the legal sense is just to protect each other's rights. It should not change the emotional, mental, and spiritual connection because now you are legal to each
Mm-hmm.
other. It shouldn't. So that's what I think is lost.
Right. So
We
I
make this more uh, uh, complicated than it needs to be. If you
right.
decided to marry this person, that man asked to marry her because that man sees that I do not want to go because I can trust me, bro. I can tell you, I can truly share you. Trust me. Um, my playground is 2/3 of the Earth's surface, and I can guarantee you, and this is a running joke, Chris. So you'll laugh. You appreciate this. If I had my dream team of women laying in the most exotic location, the women that I covered the most, I would leave them be for a $7,000 piece of dive equipment and going on an expedition
Mm-hmm.
because I've already made my legacy. The waters of my home state are safe because
Mm-hmm.
of a job I did 21 years ago. I'm
Mm-hmm.
published. I can show you the magazine now.
Mm-hmm.
Same state that spawned Denzel Washington, Jay Z. I can go on and on, but nobody knows but that's my legacy.
Mm-hmm.
That I and 12 other guys did something that impacted. And at that time, none of us thought about it like that.
Mm-hmm.
We thought about it like, okay, this is a job. It's a kick ass job. And we were called because we were told, we were asked, we needed some of the best of bear. And those who were, some of us were first round draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us were called, and I'll say I got called third because the other two guys took jobs. And it wasn't that I wasn't good enough. The other two guys were single. People knew I had a family.
Mm-hmm.
So to be with my family for 3 months, you know, that's why I
Mm-hmm.
got the military the first time. So marriage is dedicating yourself to that ultimate career, that organization,
Yes. Yes.
and growing
Yes.
with that person.
Yes.
Um, I just said something about my family reunion. Everybody that's married in my family, minimum, they have over 20 years in the game. My sister and brother-in-law got 37 years
Mm.
together.
Well, you
And
know,
Mark covets my sister just as much as he did her in 1983.
Mm.
well, you know why
Mm-hmm.
I think that honestly a lot of people are shying away from marriage is because they don't want to be involved with the state. Anybody that has been through a divorce, it can get really, really bad when you go through like state. And I think that's the sad part. A man can really, really love a woman and really want to marry her. But we've been so indoctrinated, like you said, that if we
Mm-hmm.
don't go through the state, we are not married. Like, and it's so sad that literally you can have a wedding ceremony, you can confess your vows to each other because marriage is a covenant. Like you said, marriage came from God. That is his institute, right? And you can have attorneys that put everything together so you have the rights that the state would have given you. You can give them to yourself. But society is so indoctrinated that if you do not involve the state, they don't consider you married. So you may have a man that really loves a woman, but he does not trust the state. And so you have a lot of times women saying, unless you go to this state and involve this state, then we're not married. So he's being forced to go under an indoctrination, as you say, a state marriage that he may not believe in because this is the only thing that this woman or her family or society will recognize as marriage. So a lot of people are just staying in relationship for 10, 15 years that they would have probably gotten married had they not involved the state.
Mm. Mm.
Because a lot
So,
of people don't want to go state.
But
right.
remember what I said, just like with the LGBTQ establishment, uh why they fought for that is because uh IO, this is
Mm-hmm.
just this is just a makeup story. If you have children, right?
Mm-hmm.
But your children are how old, if you don't mind me asking?
Let's see. I got five altogether. My oldest is 12 and my youngest is 1.
So remember, Eop
So,
is not state married, and Eop is protecting his family. Do you want to
No,
ask him
no.
how?
Oh, I'll get to that. I mean, I didn't know, but what I'm saying now, my children are adults.
mm-hmm.
So now you and I get together. Been together for about 5 years. Okay. I die, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is in 2002. Okay. My son at that time was 2002. I was 32. Let's say 2012. My son is 22.
Mm-hmm.
So I die. You and I had built this life together. We got stocks, bonds, all this stuff together. But Obama didn't bring this to fruition till 2000 2014.
Mm.
Okay, he didn't allow this to happen to 2014. So now I die. Now you've had kids too. Your kids are small.
Mm-hmm.
My children step in and like, uh-uh. My dad, we talked to my dad. We know what he's had, this, that, and the other. And I'm military. So even though I may put you in my W-2s and put you in my military files, I died from a deployment 2012, we were together since 2009, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you and your children are screwed. So even though you and I were together, you're not getting that big life insurance policy I have for the military. You're not getting my military survival, none of that.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? That's why the LGBTQ did that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the same thing. So um I have an idea how you why you're doing it, what you may have done, but I'm going to ask how you have your children protected.
So as far as it's say if I die,
Yeah, because
okay.
you said I was just
So my children is more protective with my whole term life insurance.
mm-hmm.
I got whole term, and then I also have a term life insurance with I got five term life insurance, which each one of my children will get uh money if I was to die, say tomorrow. It would be strictly just for them. They will be the beneficiary. So that's where I got it. With my whole term, it's more of both of my wives are the beneficiary. They will split it, pretty much down the middle.
Do you have a will with a living trust? Because remember, your
Yes,
children are still minors.
right. So I have
So,
yes, so I can go further. Yes, so I have a will,
okay, go
a
ahead.
trust, and all of that is inside of that trust, and that's what X, Y, and Z would have. Yeah, yes, sir.
Got you. That's
Yep,
all.
yep,
So,
yep.
and that's the kind of thing that like people like you and I, because I
Right,
had
right.
that was my navigation when I thought about this. I was like,
Mm-hmm,
gosh, you
mm-hmm,
know, I didn't because trust me, my kids, yeah, I mean, like
mm-hmm.
Crystal, trust me, yeah, I know what you mean by men. I wanted to marry my kids' mothers, but my military career was I chose a job in the military that most African men don't do, but I did it. I didn't want to go back to Bed-Stuy. I wanted to mean something, and that had me away. But they thought I'm
Mm-hmm.
running around and running the streets, and I'm like, no, I'm getting shot at. I'm chasing
Right.
some chick overseas. Is not even in my mind. I'm trying to, you know, chase some cover from getting an AK-47 round put in my ass. What are you
Mm-hmm.
talking about? Well, you
Right.
need to get out the military. That's how I'm paying to take care of our child. What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
getting out. What I'm gonna do? Go back to Bed-Stuy? No. So
But see,
I
that's the
understand.
thing that I'm so glad that Eve said. So it is a
Mm-hmm.
misconception in people's mind that if you don't involve the state, then you're not protected. They don't even know how to protect themselves outside of the state, not knowing, okay, so my great grandfather was married, state married, and he had a will, and when he died, the wife actually tried to take the land and not
Mm-hmm.
have it go to his kids. That will trumped her. That will said, no, you can live on this land, but this
Mm-hmm.
land goes to my kids. Because she was going to take the land and give it to her kids and completely leave his kids screwed. But
Mm.
she didn't know that he had this will that he wrote that said, no, this goes to my kids and my grandkids, and it stays in my family, which the land is still in our family till this day, still paying those living great great grandkids or whatever. So it's an illusion that the
Mm-hmm.
state trumps your wishes. Now, if you don't have them written down, it's just like if you don't have a will that if you die today and you don't have a place for your child to go, your family will have to fight the state. But if you take care of your business, see, that's the issue. People are lazy. So you depend on the state to take care of what you're supposed to take care of. If you get they have attorneys that do this now. If you get your attorney, you get everything set up. The same rights you're talking about. Of course, outside the military, most people, if you military, that's a whole nother, you're depending on the government. But most people are like working at a regular job or they have their own business. EMP has his own business, right? You could
Mm-hmm.
put documentation to do the exact same thing that the state does. See, my thing is,
Mm-hmm.
to me, going through state marriage is a trap. I've been state married. So I paid $89 to get married. I paid 5 to 6 thousand to get out of it.
Hmm. For the state, it is more of a money thing because we live in a capitalist world. It's all about capitalism, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about gaining more and more and more money and also having a level of control, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what the state wants to do with everyone is feed us how they want to feed us and when they want to feed us. It's the same way as a prison.
Mm-hmm.
You pretty much know when you're gonna get fed, when you're gonna do this, when you're gonna do that, and that's what I was saying. A lot of what's going on is just the programming. If
Mm-hmm.
I program you, I can control you, right? So when I was talking about throwing little monkey wrenches in there about marriage, what I'm saying now is when you look at men and women, because of the programming, we don't want to get so quote unquote married anymore because the programming is now saying I am better off by myself than having to deal with X, Y, and Z. But listen to this, because y'all know me, I am all for marriage 100%. And
Mm-hmm.
this is something that I will always go after. And it's because we're not in so-called the programming, because understanding a man, because we've been given, as my brother said earlier, because we've been given money, money is just an illusion, you know? It's not real, you know? So because we've been given that programming, we don't understand the intentions or the wealth that comes behind building a strong family. Now, I love to go back to nature. I'm a big nature's guy, you know, and I like looking at words, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong. So most people will say, well, that's not natural, or this is natural. Well, the root word of natural is nature. So when I go back and look at nature, right? When a male lion get kicked out of the pride, because he's gotten to the age now that he's ready to start, procreating. The father sees this, he kicks him out. You know what I'm saying? Because only one person gonna be around here spreading their genes in this family, right? He spends his entire life building himself. We're talking about this man now, building himself to one day come back and do what, y'all? Do anybody know?
One day to
He spent his
you.
entire life after he gets kicked out of the pride. He spent his entire life building himself to come back one day and take over a pride of women. A man's intention and his drive has always been to build a family. But now we have lost sight of that. That's what the male lion does. He go out there and build himself. He's a nomad. But eventually he gets the courage. He is strong enough, and now he is ready to go. Well, in the nature world, he has to go and challenge another male. Always been our God-given natural instinct is to build a family and to build a family and pass our genes along. And when you now can give us an illusion, when you can now move us from what's actually natural to us, this is why you see all of the chaos, because it ain't natural.
Now,
you know, if you gave us regular, natural food, we wouldn't have all this chaos going on in our body. You just wouldn't have it. We're so far away from the natural, you know. So therefore, men and women, because now that we're actually going out looking for a pride of women, they're not even there no more. Women don't even work together and collaborate anymore because the male is looking for a pride because that is his survival. He need those women to get out and hunt, and he will protect them. That is his survival. The woman is his survival. So, because we're so far away from the natural sense of just being humans, which given our God given ability is to procreate, to be able to create, you know? So when you don't even want to create anymore, Crystal, I mean, my gosh, you know what I'm saying? That's just the natural state of the man that God has given you the ability to actually create. And when you don't want to create, whether that's building your having your own land, doing this, doing that on your own, you would rather be fed by the system, you know, they've given you this illusion to be fed by them, and you're happy. You know what I'm saying? If we want to go back biblical, when Moses was bringing the people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt, they would have rather went back to Egypt because, like you said, they're lazy. At least we know when we was gonna eat. Now we got to get out here and fetch our own food. You'd rather be a slave. You would so
Oh
the
my
illusion.
God, you just said it. You
So the
just said
illusion
it.
that has been. Yeah, go ahead. Go
You'd
ahead.
rather be
You rather. Yeah.
that's the puppet master right here.
Yeah.
It's the
Absolutely.
little puppet master.
Absolutely.
You'd
Yep.
rather be a slave
Yep.
than go
Yep.
out and hunt for you. You'd rather have us
You
tell
rather.
you, "Oh
You
my
rather have
God,
us.
here comes
Absolutely.
this safe little paycheck, and it's gonna be
Absolutely.
in your
Absolutely.
account on Friday. Oh my God,
Absolutely.
here come these safe, rights where
Absolutely.
you're insured and you're stabilized and everything's gonna be okay, but you have
Absolutely.
to adhere
Right.
to
Absolutely.
what we tell you to do and
Absolutely.
how we tell you to do it.
Absolutely.
And if you don't play the game the way that we want you to play it, it's gonna be
That's it.
problems.
It's gonna be a problem.
We're
My
gonna
wealth.
snatch away your security
Right.
and we're gonna shake up your world and have people jumping off
Right.
buildings and all this other stuff because
Right.
we took
Right.
away we snatched the carpet of comfort
Right.
off your underneath
Right.
your feet.
Right. My wealth is my wives and my children. I oftentimes tell my wives, and they know it, and they're out searching and looking. I say I need 4 wives. That is my wealth. That is my generational. That is all of these things. You know what I'm saying? And I tell them I need to have as many children as I possibly can. You know,
I could have sworn you said you was about done. So you confusing
it,
me that now
it,
you're supposed to have as many as
it,
you can.
it depends. It depends on the woman. If she comes in here and that womb is still working, baby girl, you had to give me 1 or 2 of them. You know what I'm saying? But once again, the intention of the man and the woman has been lost. It has been lost. That's why you see chaos. That's why you see chaos. You know what I'm saying? What my man said he would go down to the country from New York. I'm from Sumter, South Carolina. Born and
Get
raised
out of here.
born and raised in the country. When the cornfield come up,
Get out of here. My
yes,
stepfather was from Sumter.
yeah,
My mom and dad are from Walterboro. I just came
yeah.
back from Charleston.
Walter, I know exactly where you at. You know what I'm saying?
Man, look, if we somehow kid, I'm gonna die.
You know what I'm saying? When you come from and understand that background, we had to work. You know what I'm saying? We had to put it in. We had unity. We had family. It made everything easy. Even in 2025, my life is just as easy as it was when I was living in the country. I was born in 85. It's because I have a family unit. It's because I have a unit of women that are willing to work together, that are willing to understand. I have my children that's coming up, you know. I let them know, listen, I'm not telling y'all what to do, but let me help guide y'all. My biggest thing with my children now, I don't want to think for you. I want to teach you how to think, you know. Go out here and get a trade. Learn to work with your hands because it ain't going away anytime soon. You know, I know AI is coming, but these trades, they're not going anywhere anytime soon. So when the intentions, or like you said, when the purpose has been lost, let me go back to my point. In the country, before they came out and sprayed the chemicals and stuff, if you just left the earth alone, it will produce everything that you need. And it is. We could walk down the road and just get a plum off the tree, get an
Yep.
apple off the tree. You can't do it anymore. Why? Because we want to control if you can control food and water, you can control people. That's how you control people through food and water and land. That's why they buying up all the land. Everybody now is
Interrupt,
what we're renting. You
Oh,
know what I'm saying?
interrupt those
Manuel, sir, you
Maslow,
gotta head out.
interrupt those Maslow hierarchy of needs. So it's funny you say that. Now, I was gonna laugh. I was laughing you about the whole lion thing. So you're right to a point. At the same time, that elder lion leader of pride, that young lion may also challenge to lead the pride. So it's a give it. So when you said that, like, yeah, it's give and take. So it's this the thing is it's again, it's simplistic, but this is where evolving comes in. We have to evolve.
Right.
So there's nothing wrong with technology. At the same time, you got to hold on to the roots. Did you see the books that I held up?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So trust me, and then forget that at all. Trust me, I have I don't like saying I'm a prepper. No, I'm not just I grew up in a family that we were self-sustaining. You know about
Mm-hmm.
canned goods and having stuff in mason
Mm-hmm.
jars. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yep.
my mom and dad used to do that. You know, we came back with all types of fresh fruit and vegetables and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, so I
Yep.
know. But
It's a project right now that we still teach our children. We just they think it's fun. They think it's fun and game. But we have this stuff in our pantry now. Go ahead, bro.
so I know exactly what you mean. And that's the thing, what we need to take those challenges and learn how to win. Me, I'm a door kicker. I think we as a species, we need to evolve. Like you said, you want to make as many children as you want to. I have zero desire to make any more children. Like I told Chris a lot of times, for my value system, I could not bring a 30 something year old woman around my 30 something year old kids. Because number one, I think I changed two of my granddaughters' diapers and one of my great niece's diapers once a piece. I
Mm,
have zero desire to rehash that. So, but I look at my position now. When I first chose this, when I chose this at 38, I was still receptive to it. But
right.
over
Right.
the years, it's like, gosh, I'm like, why are women fighting this? Women are logically listening to what I'm saying, bro. I am giving empirical data. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
selling a bag of goods. I am giving women information from
Mm-hmm.
NGOs, the federal government, from from the American Psychological Society and stuff. And I said, I want what I want. So I'm giving you information on the effectiveness, including numbers don't lie. The
Mm-hmm.
worldwide and the last time I checked was about 7 years ago. The worldwide marriage uh, rate, the worldwide marriage effective rate was like at 52%. But the 1.9 billion people that lived in polygamous households, their success rate was 74.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm showing you this, and you're going against that. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
that's like saying I'm not gonna wear a seatbelt no more because I don't give a damn. And that was what I've dealt with this whole. Now I think more women in my age group are being more receptive now because Gen X men are going toward the millennial women or even going
Mm-hmm.
towards Gen Z
Mm-hmm.
again. And it's about family. But at our age, it's not about me trying to make the generation because the African family in America is fractured. So my thing is
Yep.
now to be a herald and a guide and say, no, I'm not trying to be making no kids because heck, what am I doing at 60 years old trying to make babies? That's stupid. That
Mm-hmm.
doesn't make sense. So after a while, you have to again use logic, not just we here to build the nation. Well, we already
Right.
have a
Right.
nation, but the nation is
Yep.
it's our we have young men and young women out here shaking a butt and killing each other.
Mm-hmm.
So why not be making more children that might get killed or hurt in a crossfire? Let me be a leader. So that's why I look at my role and the women in my life that are in my life. We are to now be the elders that we chose to be a mature polygamous family. That
Mm-hmm.
now we still going to help each other, be there for each other, and do great things. But now, uh, we're not teaching our children. My
Mm-hmm.
spouse, my partner that's living with me, her ex-husband, he was such a horrible father. Her son called his son, his oldest son, calls me dad. I'm like, dag, you met with me twice, and I made that much an impact on you than the man that made you, and you've been around all these years. I was like, dag. When Adria asked me that question, I was like, he wants to call me dad. I'm like, oh, sure. Like, I was I was shocked. I heard the stories of how horrible her ex-husband was and everything, but to actually have a 24-year-old young man be like, nah, I even want to change. I even want to go back to my mom's maiden name. I'm like,
Mm.
so I made that impact just that in that short period of time with this young man and stuff. So I couldn't imagine my son doing that. Now, my son's mother is married, and I didn't have no issue if he called old boy Pop if he was there because he was in his life. But he was in his life until his mother started giving her own kid, giving him his own kids. Then my son started getting mistreated, and I had to get my kid before I end up going to jail for you know. You're gonna pay me child support, sign the paper, give me my boy. That's all I need. I don't need a dime from you.
Mm.
I'm good. So yeah. So but yeah, and that's the whole thing is it's making things sustainable and tenable. That's why I think with this with polygamy, it's still a way we as a species we need to evolve. But we in America, and they say it now, America's still the great worldwide experiment. Some administrations we seem to be doing okay. Some it's like, oh Lord, let's get through these 4 years. So, but at the ground level, we need to try to remember not to eat on each other. And I think that's kind of where we're at now. Like you said,
Right.
they're trying to
Right.
pit us against each other. Trust
Oh
me.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm double retired, but yeah, I I I am preparing uh if things happen because yeah, you know. But I'm gonna get ready to go take care of my baby's wound because she had surgery. And
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
bro,
Great.
if
Great
you
convo.
if you want to reach out to me, I'll give you my Facebook
Yeah. Absolutely. Yep. Let me get that.
because I think
Where you
definitely
located?
I live in Birmingham, Alabama. Where are
Okay,
you?
you're in Alabama. Okay, I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina now.
Okay,
Yeah.
my brother and my sister live in Charlotte. So
Okay.
she and my mom, she moved well after my stepfather died because they both retired in New York and then sold their house, moved back down to where my stepfather lived in Sumter. And when he died in 2017, she stayed until like 2023 in
Mm-hmm.
Sumter, and she moved back down to Walterboro and stuff.
Okay. Okay.
So
Yeah.
we, like I said, I just came from Charleston earlier,
Yeah. Yeah.
in July, man,
Yeah,
for our
and I'm
50th
I'm
family
headed there
reunion.
this weekend.
Yeah, man, so it's funny.
Man.
But it was great talking with you guys. Crystal, we're gonna talk some more. And you guys have an awesome night, okay?
Hey man, y'all do the same. Absolutely.
Yeah, you too. I guess we
I
can go ahead and
adjourn.
wrap up. This
Mm-hmm.
is a good meeting, everyone.
This
Thank
was
you for
amazing.
joining. We have this every month. The second Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. So
Have
hope
a
to see
yeah,
you
have a
next.
distro. That'd be
Huh?
great. Yeah, they have your distribution list and send that out. Because when you sent it out, I said, "Oh, okay." I didn't know the time frame, so I said, "Okay, let's do it."
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Great job, Crystal. You're doing an amazing job.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.